And we are live for another Friday Night Live. So while we wait for people to join, we are going to, hopefully, if I can get this recorded right, we're going to check out the Destination Linux website, because it finally got moved over and everything should be set up, and it would be great if we could get some feedback for, what's going on with it, and if it's usable, if it's terrible. Any feedback would be great. Let me see if I can get a screenshot up of it. Hey Brad, what's going on, man? Chip? All right, well, I'll just put the link in the chat, and you guys give me some feedback on what you think. It's not the best website out there, but Joe Resington from Late Night Linux pretty much worked on it most of the day today to get it set up in DigitalOcean, and pretty much handed it over to us. Basically took it from his server and put it on one for us that we could take care of, and it finally got all of the name servers got in right, and I was able to actually go in, check it out, customize it a little bit, and this is what we come up with so far. So like I said, you got to give me some feedback on what you think about it. So Vega, what's going on, man? Alright, so I can't seem to get a screenshot up of it right here. And I guess I could let me see if I can do that real quick while we wait here, because you guys got nothing else to do, right? Then wait here. And yeah. So I'm just going to grab the, let's see here, window capture. That's what I'm going to grab. And there. No, not the Google Music Player. I'm going to do the Destination Linux. There. Seb, what's going on? Uh-oh, can't hear him.
Good morning. Sorry, I had to get my mic ready. Usual.
Yeah, it's all good, man.
Problems, yeah.
It's all good, brother. What's happening? How was your vacation?
My vacation was superb, but too short as usual.
Yeah.
And, no, I haven't got a tan because I don't do the laying out in the sun all day. I just end up looking like a tomato if I do that. So.
Yeah, I know.
it was nice being able to dunk myself in the pool every 5 or 10 minutes. It was good.
So, let me get this up here. Whoa. How about I silence my phone? I actually recorded a Destination Linux episode today, and today was the day we had Ike on, and
cool.
Yeah, so that's coming up. And of course, we start out the podcast, and I got my phone on, and that happens in the beginning. So there was no sense of me trying to re-record it, so I just kept it going and then leave it in there. So nothing's ever perfect, man. So check out the destinationlinux.org website, man, and tell me what you think.
Yeah, I'm having a look now. The initial reaction is, yeah, it loaded really fast. I hate those websites that take forever to load. And yeah, it's looking good.
Nice. Okay, so that's the theme website. That's the Destination Linux website. Dust, how come you don't have the link already? How can you not have the link? All right, I can't get you the link because that's on the screen that's actually recording in full screen, and I can't get you the link. So it's appear.in / what, Big Daddy Linux? I think that's what it is.
Do you want me to post it in chat?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Justin Bieber on the music player. No. Let's see. It's actually, let's put it up here. Oh, no, it's not. It's not going to be up there. It's Jeremy Camp and Cutlass and some country music. And yeah, so there you go. There's the musical taste. All right, so let me get that one screen off of there so we're not seeing that no more. And you guys are seeing the chat. All right, so now I think we're good. I think we're set up good. So, yeah, we did have a conversation with Ike today. We actually recorded the following week's episode already, and that I can't, say who that is, but it's going to be an awesome, not only this Monday's episode with Ike, but the following Monday is going to be awesome. We have another interview with a guy, and it was a great chat, and he's going to announce some things on there, so that's why I can't tell you who it is. Cool. Or I would be more than happy to tell you. And there's Ryan. We don't hear you, Ryan. Why don't you get your stuff right, all right?
Morning, Ski.
Oh my! The preview for the OBS is just stuck. What the heck? Hopefully the stream's okay here.
Yeah. Just wondering what Chip's on about. When will today's show be online? It's online now, Chip.
It looks like today's show will be published Monday. So.
Oh, I see. Destination Linux. Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Brad. But I don't think tell me, is the stream stuck? Because I think the video's stuck for us. So.
Yeah, it is.
All right. So how do I fix that? Which one is it? VLC video source. Yeah, and where is that video source, for crying out loud? That's not there. This is so messed up. None of our stuff is here, man. Peer in. There. There we go. See, it's on Google Desktop Media Player. Why is that? This is all messed up. Hey, there we go. I think we're good now. We still don't have the VLC video source though, which is all the fancy floaty video in the back there. So what's going on with you, brother? You still on peppermint or what?
Hey, of course. Had a bit of a Benny when I got back from holiday. Turned the machine on after having been off for a week, and nothing would work correctly. So after messing around for about
what about now? Can you hear me now?
Hey, yeah, that's loud.
Nice.
So yeah, after messing about for a couple of hours, I thought, well, sod this. I haven't done it in a while, so I trashed every hard disk inside the machine and just reinstalled everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Everything?
Everything. So I had to do Windows, Peppermint 7, Manjaro, Ferran OS, and all the others that I'm toying with at the moment, because they just, whatever I did, I mean, I even got that boot rescue disk, and no matter which one I chose from the list that it was bringing, just went back to a grub rescue screen. So I have no idea what went wrong, but hey, it's all up and running now. And as you saw from the comment yesterday, that's the fastest I've ever had Peppermint load from the grub menu.
Wow, I did see that though. I mean, that's ridiculous. That fast is ridiculous, man.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but that's the sort of speeds it should have been doing on my NVMe drive. So I'm really pleased that it's now. I mean, I could get it down to sort of 5.5 seconds before, but I've never had a 3-second load up from grub. That was just awesome. So I kept it. It now says "Wow, boot chart."
That's right.
So apart from that, same old, same old. Been playing a few ETS truck simulators, annoying the hell out of the true truckers as I do my wacky races imitation.
Well, we just got done Rocket League, and Ski can attest to we were just tearing it up. So can Chip. Chip was there. We were just tearing it up, weren't we, Ryan?
Oh yeah. Everybody was fearful. We had some great one-liners in there too. We actually did win more than usual, I think.
It was fun either way. It don't matter.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep. So, so I still got to edit the Destination Linux episode for tonight. That's what makes it difficult, though, because we play Rocket League afterwards, and then we do this, and and then I gotta tomorrow I'm back to work, so it's like I gotta plan how I'm going to edit that in between, like, getting up and right before work and then right after work. And usually I have the Patreon up on Sunday. I try to get that up the day before so that the Patreon members can see that a day ahead of time. I know that's not the biggest perk in the world. It's probably the lousiest Patreon perk ever, but it's the only one we have right now. So now the following week, when we have our mystery guest, that I don't think I'm going to be able to do the day before, just because of what he's announcing. So, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Michael.
Good morning,
Michael.
Hi.
Yeah.
Now you've got us all intrigued though as to what this big announcement is. We're going to be on tenterhooks all week.
Well,
the announcement.
Well, here's what's amazing about it is that it literally, it literally is an exclusive. Nobody else has this information, which is really unique.
Accepted.
Yep, it is a it is definitely. We confirmed it today that it is. They're going to use Destination Linux to announce it, so I think it's awesome. So you'll have to wait and see. I'm sorry.
Look forward to it.
Yep. Very exciting stuff.
Clifford, do you get it the day ahead
Anybody
of
get their
time?
Destination Linux coffee cup?
I mean, do you actually watch it the day ahead of time? I mean, is it
Hell-
worth that?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Even if I'm on a
Oh,
train,
he loves it as a
wherever
perk.
I am,
Nice.
it has to be watched.
All right, so what do we got in the news department? What can we talk about? Let me see here. Oh, yeah, the GNOME settings. So
The
they
news
are...
I covered last week that people just didn't seem to care about until now it's on Reddit and people care. Like,
Yep.
watch my podcast.
Hey, go to Tux Digital and watch his podcast, okay? Brad, you got your cup. I know the coffee tastes better. Does it not? Does it not taste better? That's awesome, Clifford. That is absolutely... It's good to know that, like I said, I posted a day ahead of time, and I have no idea if that's like something that anybody even wants. But anyway, GNOME settings, they are changing it all around, and I guess it's gonna kind of look like, I don't know, Michael, GNOME Tweak more so than the old GNOME settings.
I mean, not really. It's more of they're limiting. They announced this like a year ago that they were working on this, and essentially what it's going to be is just a simple column structure so that all the settings are laid out into a category structure.
Kind of like
So
GNOME Tweak.
It's similar, kind of like GNOME Tweak, but GNOME Tweak uses the POSIX compliance and the freedesktop.org standards to do that. So, I mean, it's kind of like they're just using the standard of category structure that's been around for a while. So
Yeah.
they're basically making something that's old look new again.
I don't know if it looks new, but it does go better with GNOME. So
I mean,
I think it's a step up. I just don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's awesome. It is a step up, though.
I don't mean it looks good, looks new or brand new or whatever. I'm saying it's like they've modernized an old style. That's all.
All right, and then we got Latte Dock,
Which is the best doc ever.
best dock ever. That's becoming an official KD project, going under the umbrella, and they're going to be.
Which is awesome because that means it might be packaged by default in Neon.
Well, it should be, ain't? If it's a KD project, you would think it would be.
Packaged and also by default. I mean, like it could be it's going to be packaged more than likely.
So it'll be easier to install.
Yeah, but I'm saying like if it's available by default as a dock, that would be amazing. But I doubt that. But it could be cool.
I don't know if they'd want that, man. They might lose. They might have to make it the default panel.
Well, the funny thing is that the whole latte dock being used as like a panel replacement of plasma is interesting because that's how I use it, and
That's how I use it when I'm
Yeah.
on KDE.
yeah, it's way better than the regular plasma panels. Just for the idea that you can center stuff automatically without having to play with like pixel ridiculousness.
Ryan, you're back on KDE. You trying it or what?
You talking about latte still?
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah, I love it. I actually went through and tried a bunch of other docks, and it was interesting how many of them had major bugs and flaws where things wouldn't. I think the biggest issue I found was a lot of them you could not get a predictable screen area to where the dock would pop out. You know, when you want it to hide or move when you've got screens in your way, then you'd move your cursor back and nothing would happen. But Latte is just, it's premium. It works every time exactly as you expected. If there's a major window like a game coming on, it goes behind the scenes perfectly. Adding to it's very easy. Customizing it, simple. I love it. I think it's fantastic.
I think Latte Dock has some issues. I haven't used the latest one. They might have fixed it in the latest one. The only thing I've ever noticed that bothers me. There's two things. One,
You said one. You only get one.
I know, but I changed it. Now it's two. The first one.
Hey, we make the rules.
The resources are kind of. Well, I jump in and like you just like your games. I jump in and change everything however I want.
You're right.
And we actually win.
But so the first one is the system is kind of resource heavy. Like when you compare it to Plasma itself, like the Plasma panels versus Latte Dock. The Latte Docks are about twice as much as the megabytes that's used for RAM than the regular panels are. So that's kind of disappointing. But overall, the features it provides are like extensive, like way more than the basics of the basic Plasma panel. The other thing that's annoying, and this is a very specific thing. It could be fixed in 7.1071. I haven't tried it. If you play a controller game, there is no issue with controllers. But if you play a mouse game, sometimes, depending on the type of game, if you hover your mouse over to the left or right and you have side panels, it kind of pulls them in. So if you do side panels and you do them as like IntelliHide, it will kind of pull them in during a game.
That's not good.
Yeah, that's not good. But the funny thing is, Latte is so seamless as far as like when it runs and when it doesn't. You could just right click the panel, choose Latte settings, then click at quit, play the game, then just KRunner Latte, and you're back to normal. Like once your game's over. So it gets out of the way, it can get out of the way much easier that way.
Right.
And I do recognize that's the probably the worst workaround is to close something, but hey.
What's going on, Jonas?
Hello, friends.
What's
How
happening,
are you all doing
man?
tonight?
Salutations.
Greetings and salutations.
Yeah, I would have been here last week, but had that whole Hurricane Harvey scare.
Uh-oh. Colin, what's going on, man? Uh-oh.
Oh, wow, you got a new voice.
It's Mickey Mouse.
That's adorable.
Hey, buddy.
That's not right. That's not right.
We're playing with voice synthesizers now.
Going. That's awesome.
Somebody's using Windows.
Uh-oh.
Colin, you need to fix your microphone.
All right, I
Let's
gotta
start
mute
those
him.
guys
Sorry.
on the laughing gas.
Sorry, I gotta mute him.
Or
Just
the
so
helium.
the internet connection gets worked out.
That
Steve,
was
you coming
so
in?
entertaining.
English Bob, Steve, come on in here, man.
Hey, Bobby.
You can ask your question when you come in.
Yeah.
Are you still doing that voice?
Mimicking the voice now.
No.
So-
How about Meat World?
So, oh my gosh.
What's happened to your show, Rocco? Get
I don't know. This
control.
is ridiculous.
Get
Is this
control.
oh my gosh.
It's a Friday night comedy hour.
Right.
Exactly. That's what I do voices.
This is ridiculous.
Ridiculous, man. Ridiculous.
Are you threatening me?
I'm not even going there, guys.
No,
No.
I'm not. No, I'm not a voice. You know, I
Come
know.
So speaking of Rocket League,
Yeah. Speaking of Rocket League, go ahead.
yeah, I just played with some champs,
Yeah.
and
You
it's-
owned him.
No.
No. Okay. All right.
No, I kept my own in the champ world.
You talking about us?
No, he's definitely not talking.
You did
about
play with us. I didn't know if you were.
Well, like right after.
Thank you.
I sent a message to one of the champs people I knew, and I was like, "Hey, you want to carry me?" And he sent me an invite. I was like, "Oh, really? That was quick." And I just started playing with like a bunch of them, and I didn't MVP, but I was close.
Nice.
And the guy who invited me, he blocked my last shot to get MVP, and it was like so mean. So mean.
Terrible.
Well, to English Bob's question, DTube is big on the news. Have you guys heard about this?
I only just heard about it, but all I can say is it's about time.
Yeah.
I look at it this way, YouTube's had a monopoly in this market for a while. So, okay, something new pops up that gives people an alternative. I wouldn't expect it to be totally awesome and on par with YouTube, but like anything else, give it time. Feedback for the people who are actually working on this always helps, especially if these people are doing it in their spare time. But I would definitely give them all the support you can. Just doesn't matter where you're at in that particular realm, but that's my thought on it. Something new to the open source market that has something else to offer. I'd say it's always worth a shot.
It is open source, but it seems kind of odd. I read up on it just a little bit, and it's kind of like you can store your videos up there for a short while, but then they go away unless you get everybody to kind of basically seed it almost like a torrent.
I'd kind of heard that was the direction they're heading. So it's an interesting concept, and maybe later on, after they've had some time to mature their platform, I guess we'll just call it that. Once they've had some time to mature it, maybe once they manage to generate some funding, whether it's through donations, they might be able to offer some better options there, but you got to look at it from the perspective of, okay, if we're putting our videos up somewhere to store, then they need some place to store all these videos. So you're one of many, so think how many videos you have, how many gigs. Now think about all the other content creators that are out there, and all that storage space, especially if it's in the cloud, because that's technically what it is. You're putting it up there for others to see. It does cost, and it does add up.
Yeah. That's the biggest issue, is to compete against someone the size of Google, who obviously has the server space, the power to do a platform like YouTube. Torrenting's an interesting idea. I don't know. There's got to be some money payback for it, as well. And I guess they do have a system there they're monetizing. But see, I see Twitch as a direct competitor to YouTube. And Twitch has gone out and created what they call IRL, which is basically in real life. They've created entertainment sections. They've created tech sections. They're basically slowly rolling out the equivalent. Of course, they have Amazon's backing of a YouTube. Now, it's not as popular as YouTube yet, and people aren't putting how-to videos or distro videos there yet, but it's coming. I could see. I don't know that this torrenting video idea is going to be very popular amongst the mainstream. I just have a hard time seeing it come up unless they come up with a really clever way of keeping the content there, because especially when I first started, my videos were not popular enough to stay that they would stay up or somebody would see them. Maybe now I could, but as a new content creator, I really needed that 2 or 3 months to grow before anybody even cared what I was releasing out there, and that's a big deal.
No, I can understand you in that particular aspect. Actually, if I don't know if any of you guys have heard of him before or follow him, Eli the Computer Guy, who's no longer on YouTube, has done a couple really interesting videos that kind of explain the YouTube algorithm and how it impacts content creators, and how a lot of other really well, I don't want to steer into that particular realm, because unfortunately that does where it go. That does tend to be where it ends up leading. So for the sake of keeping it within the realm of this show, I won't go there. But if content creators are mistreated, they need another option, another platform to go to. Vimeo is one of them, but I know they have their own issues and limitations. So this is another option, which unfortunately is using torrents as a way to quickly distribute and allow all the content to be delivered to its viewers. But, you know, like all the other things, they come with their own challenges, most of which are sourced around the same problems, but how each platform tries to solve it is a little different.
If you had to leave Rocco YouTube today, where would you go with your video?
I don't know. I don't think there's a good competitor out there.
You're absolutely right. There isn't.
There isn't one that offers what YouTube offers. One, as far as and YouTube is far from perfect. It's totally far from perfect. Okay, but for what we're using it for, it's the best out there, and it has what everybody needs as a content creator, and that's the people.
Why did I ask the Chrome user?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, but wait. It doesn't matter how good something is if it doesn't have the user base and it doesn't have the normal people, the normal everyday people using it. It doesn't matter.
What you just said is proprietary garbage is the best.
Well, I'm sorry, what?
What you just said is proprietary garbage is the best.
No, that's not what I said. I said
Although,
YouTube right now is the best.
Yeah.
Whether
it is
you can,
proprietary and it is the best. So I mean, even I'm just messing with you.
that's not a blanket statement, but yeah, well, I guess you could say that it is the best
in this
right now.
particular situation.
We can rephrase that as the proprietary garbage is unfortunately your best option.
Correct.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
this BitTorrent thing.
Michael's very particular with the words he chooses and the words you choose.
Speaking of,
Well, I
beginning,
can't be too, but it's all in how you articulate it.
Yeah.
so the idea that this BitTorrent solution is going to work is kind of ridiculous.
It's delusional.
It's delusional. I would go with that too. I think that might be a little bit too harsh, but I'm okay with it. I'll go with it too.
It's harsh. It's totally okay with it. And I'm more of the mentality with, okay, they played their hand. Let's see how it goes for them. Maybe they find another delivery option. I hope they do.
Right.
But I'd say between now and, let's say, the summer, let's see how many content creators YouTube can piss off between now and then, and that might actually have an impact on it. It does.
Not gonna leave. They're gonna do it. They're gonna keep uploading to YouTube. They're gonna keep. They maybe go to something else like Dailymotion or something, or Vimeo or.
Well, there's nothing
whatever.
that keeps you in YouTube from not sending your videos to other places. Which, if you get signed on to Twitch, for instance, you are not allowed to just upload your content to any other site. So Twitch is definitely creating a walled garden, and that's a powerful move on their part. YouTube, on the other hand, hasn't done that yet.
Yeah.
What I'm alluding to there really is the content creators who are actually putting content out there because they're depending on it to pay their mortgage. They're depending on the money that they actually generate, whether it's through monetizing, well, rest in peace there, or through, your CSM. So the people that are impacted in those particular areas, it takes time to put the content out there. It takes time to edit it, especially if you want to do it well. It takes time to build up a channel and build up a base. And, like I said, it really just depends on which content creators are impacted and how many. But it will have an impact. It won't be very obvious or sudden. It's going to be kind of like a slow bleed over time, which has already started happening.
I think it's interesting that people are so eager to look for a solution. For a while, everyone was very happy with YouTube, and then things started happening. Now, obviously, I haven't had demonetization because, my content is very family friendly. There's no question of it. But I have had situations where people copyright claim things that are absolutely ridiculous. There's no music in my videos, yet they'll copyright claim it, and then I have to sit there and battle it. And there's so many threats when you go through the battling of a copyright claim that basically say, hey, if you lose 3 of these, we're taking down your channel permanently. So are you sure you want to proceed with actually fighting the copyright claim? And what that means is that video I created, that person gets all the money for. So that type of stuff I've run into. I've also run into issues where mass subscribers just leave, and then all of a sudden, a week later, mass subscribers come back. I know what my steady stream of subscriber is every week, what I generally gain and what I lose. And then sometimes in mass, they just leave. And then in mass, people come back. And I think YouTube does something where they literally go in there and unsubscribe a bunch of people randomly. And then people go, realize like, oh, crap, I don't see Dawson's Geek stuff anymore. I'm not subscribed. There's a lot of problems like that, which kill small content creators like myself, which is very hurtful because obviously when you lose 200 people randomly through a mistake, you hope that you've created enough of a fan base that they're actually willing to come back and hit that button again.
Yeah, it doesn't matter about as far as the demonetization, you'll probably get it at some point. Just because it doesn't matter if you're family friendly or not. Like
it's starting to happen to everybody. Unfortunately, it's really sad. And the other thing too is that, and this is one of Eli the Computer Guy's complaints, is the YouTube support, especially when something happens to your channel, is not the best. And it's not the most customer service friendly either. Like they're not really known for making content creators feel how do you say, appreciated is probably the best way to put it, because you really do, if you think about it, you as the content creator, you bring viewers, you bring people to the platform, and that's what they benefit from. So
but you don't bring money to the platform.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right, and that was a very, very good point Eli the Computer Guy had also made, and I would encourage you guys to watch that video and find it if you're curious, because yes, he raised actually the concern, how the hell does YouTube plan to continue growing and supporting itself? Because if you do the math, you do the numbers, they don't add up. So it makes you wonder, how long can they sustain it?
YouTube brings 100% of the money.
But
I think it's their
the reason that I asked,
Google owns YouTube. YouTube brings 100% of the money.
I'm aware of that.
The reason why people advertise on YouTube is because they already have a Google AdWords account, so they're just bringing in more and more. So, like, as far as all the money that the content creators are complaining about not getting, they wouldn't get it anyway without YouTube. Go to Dailymotion. Do they have like a partnership where you can make money off of it? No, name another one that does that. Vimeo, you even have to pay to put your content there.
But they will pay you.
The big thing is, I don't know if you guys and girls have heard of a YouTuber called Computing Forever.
Hold on, there's two people talking at once. Hold on. Who is Steve? Were you talking?
Yeah, I'm trying. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's vary, but I mean, I couldn't use sign.
Am I frozen? Who's frozen?
Steve.
Yeah. Oh no, there's a YouTuber called Computing Forever. I don't know if any of you have heard of him, and he's an Irish guy, and it's really concerning that if you forget about on YouTube as a content creators platform, if you forget about monetization, if you forget about copyright strikes, because the company Google is now under so much pressure from governments around the world, not only are they starting to censor and ban free speech, and the latest round has seen them censoring and banning 4 different black YouTube content creators, all females. They've also started censoring them platform independent. So not only are the YouTube channels getting stripped down and banned for controversial comments, also their Facebook and their Twitter simultaneously is getting banned. Now, this for me is really, really serious. For argument's sake, Big Daddy might want to come onto YouTube and spout a load of stuff which I might 100% disagree with and find 100% offensive. However, in the realms of democracy, Big Daddy is 100% entitled to free speech. I might not like what he says, I don't have to watch it, but that guy is entitled to his opinion. And I think the day is fast approaching where that's being taken away.
Are you when you, if let's say you have a podcast and you bring someone on,
yep,
are you entitled to have whoever wants to be on your show on it?
I 100% think you are, absolutely. But Google,
so there's no one you could imagine that you would not want on your show.
No, absolutely not, because everybody's entitled to free speech.
So a mass murderer wants to get he's in prison. He wants to have a conversation on your podcast.
Yeah, he's entitled to free speech, is he not? We either have free speech or we don't.
Well, I mean, it's interesting that you say that because I mean, it's an interesting perspective. But as far as like YouTube, this is not it's not a government. YouTube
No,
does
it's
does
not, but
offer you
but
free.
it's being influenced by one, and
No, it's
he's
not.
getting
No, it's not. It's being influenced by
Absolutely.
advertising companies. Like
he's getting into the realm that I wanted to avoid actually for this particular reason, because it does tend to draw up a lot of disagreements. I understand the arguments on both sides, but
governments
I
are
do
trying
happen
to
to agree with
have
him.
been trying to
Anyway.
fight YouTube for years. They've been trying to make YouTube do things for years. What actually was effective? Money. Them the Wall Street Journal scaring a crap load of companies to pull money out. That's all they did. Why are they making now censoring people who are saying stuff that are making advertisers leave? Because the advertisers are leaving. They don't care. They even had the people who are advertisers even knew that there was like a 1.3% chance that their ads would be on terrorist videos. They were told this if you signed up for AdWords to advertise on YouTube a year ago. It would tell you there's a 1.3% chance that there is a video that's going to be on your ad is going to be on a video that you will not like.
No,
Do you want to proceed?
That's
and
fine.
they said, yeah, whatever.
I don't really want to get into that. The point I was badly trying to make is what is going to be the next content creators platform and why. And I heard you talking about DTube, oh, it's fantastic. But from the YouTubers that I've spoken to, the up-and-coming platform that they're all migrating over to, which a lot already have, is BitChute. And I just wondered what your guys and girls' take on it were. I know somebody mentioned about Twitch, but don't forget, Twitch is as fine a platform as it is, was always built and designed from the ground up to be a gamer's.
Well, that's not actually true. Twitch TV came from Justin TV, and Justin TV was not a gaming platform.
No,
Twitch spawned off of that to become a gaming platform, but as a lot of content creators on Twitch are talking about, it's actually come completely full circle back to the Justin TV days, because now it's not about gaming. Now they've got art, now they have comedy, now they have in real life where people are just walking around streaming themselves. So it hasn't gotten to the point yet of...
And that's great, but can you ever see somebody like Casey Neistat migrating over from YouTube onto Twitch?
I think you will see that day. I really do believe Twitch is the competition for YouTube right now. All these BitTorrents and other sites, I love the open source free market ideas and all of that. I just frankly don't feel like, as somebody who spends as much money as I do creating content, that I would ever be able to make money off of doing that. And that is I have to at least make back what I spend as a content creator, and as much time as I spend. This isn't my full-time job. I love doing the videos, but it's nice to at least make back what I spend. Twitch has that. They've got monetization, they've got partnerships, and they've even changed, which this was huge, to where now you don't have to be a mega streamer to get that partnership. Now they have like a sub partnership for smaller folks that they can get, where they can start monetizing their content. So I think Twitch will get there, but they're going to slow roll it. You're not going to see it tomorrow, but they're slowly taking that market. And YouTube knows it. That's why they launched YouTube Gaming so frantically, which ended up being a bomb. But YouTube knows that's a big competition for them. And Amazon has the money, is probably one of the other few companies out there actually has the money that could afford the servers to support the amount of videos that YouTube has on it. So I think it's major competition for YouTube, and I think they view it as major competition to their brand and things, and they're going to try to go after it.
So you don't see something like BitChute or DTube as a direct immediate threat then? It's more
I
of a...
really hope I'm wrong, but I don't know.
I can't see these small channels surviving by having 6 or 7 people streaming via BitTorrent their YouTube content. It's just not going to happen.
I would love to see the day where you have a good competitor to YouTube in one of these other ones like vid.me, but a lot of them can't. They just can't handle playing with somebody as big as YouTube. It's like Vimeo. Vimeo started out and they seemed like they were going to be really good, and then they went to this whole thing where you got to pay to upload, and that just killed them. And these other ones coming out are exciting, like BitChute or DTube, but they just don't have the backing of it to play with somebody like YouTube. There's just no way. They have the server infrastructure, the storage space, and the actual draw to bring in creators. You know, you're going to have the monetization for creators to come and make content. So, I mean, I don't know if Twitch is the competitor, but it seems like it's the biggest one out there that
Well, it's such a
might
household
have a
name.
chance.
It's like using the term like, "Oh, I'm going to go Google that," right? Google had taken over so much, even though I think DuckDuckGo is every bit as good and superior. And I try to move to people, even I go around saying, "Let's just Google it. Google it." YouTube's the same way, right? If you've got to fix your washer, your dryer, whatever, you're going to YouTube. Everybody has YouTube's become a part of people's lives, and because of that, it's going to be very hard to break that by just saying, I have another video platform that you can upload videos to. Well,
And
now you
yet-
got to get the audience over there. And while we are in a very specific field and we have a niche market with Linux and all that type of stuff, and I do believe if I moved, people may go over there for a little while and watch those videos. All the other type of videos and content out there as well would have to move. And people who are not as technical are going to be like, they're not even going to know what DTube is, let alone go on there and search for it. So if it was to be a competition, you're talking years down the road before it would have enough of a following where people would start talking about it. It's kind of like trying to say Google Plus dethroning Facebook. I mean, Facebook's another household name that's going to be very difficult to dethrone because of the amount of market share and the fact that it's literally a part of your vocabulary in life.
And the problem is, users such as yourselves, once you're on a platform, you're almost becoming like water, aren't you? You just want the easiest, smoothest path. So actually,
Yes.
to migrate over, even me, I've tried to migrate over to Twitch, and it's your worst nightmare. And Twitch is big.
Yes.
So
Which is a
you know,
different thing anyway. Like they could eventually become a competitor, but they're not a competitor.
no,
They're a competitor
I
to
totally
YouTube
agree.
Live, but they're not a competitor in general because you can't upload a video. You have to stream it to them, and then you can take those videos and have them saved on the server so people can actually like watch them later. But you can't just take a video that you pre-made and upload it on there because that defeats their point.
But there was a big problem where Twitter was
it
removing
just feels
videos
like Google
just because
is
of that.
a corporate conglomerate are pressing the self-destruct button across all platforms that they own, down to government pressure, down to political correctness, down to
I mean,
anti-terrorism.
that's a conspiracy.
Well, yeah, but you see it happening. It's happening in real life. It's happening right
No,
now.
these are private companies that have the right to remove anything that they have on their servers.
Yeah, I know, but this is what I'm saying. Where do you draw the line?
They've
you
explained where they draw the
you
line.
either have free
It's
speech or
very
you
messed
don't.
up, but they explained it.
Well,
But you
okay.
either have free speech or you don't.
There's two sides to this argument, and
You
yes,
can't force them to provide freedom to you. That's the problem.
no, you
like-
can't force them to provide
No,
freedom
that's
to you
fine,
because
but in
they
that
are.
case, we don't live in a democracy then. If you're not free to come on
YouTube
here,
is not a democracy, correct?
but it's part of a democracy. It exists within a democracy.
Does
Unless we're now saying the internet is not a democracy. What is the internet?
It's not.
Yeah, but
it's
you're not-
a-
yeah, but
it's
you're
an
not
entity that
using
doesn't
the
have any
internet.
kind of governmental structure at all.
You're using YouTube, and they have the right to say what is and is not going to go on. Because as you said, Steve, where do you draw the line? Do you want paedophiles on there next?
No, but what I'm saying, Zed, is it makes a mockery of the whole thing of democracy.
No,
And,
because-
we're not just talking about the United States here. We're talking about the UK. We're talking about the EU, all putting immense pressure on companies like Google, saying, "Look, if we see any videos on YouTube that have subject matter A on, bang, we want them off."
Why are you saying this governmental thing when if you look at the history of YouTube, they've had these things and these white nationalist things, these terrorist organizations, these people literally beheading people on YouTube. Why are you saying it now when the only evidence we have is that they were losing money?
I'll tell you why I'm saying it now, because all these paedophiles, terrorists, nutballs, psychopaths, which do all these videos and vile content, it's now forcing, via the government, Google to come up with bots. And these bots are supposed to target this specific content. What the result of these bots
Except
is...
for the reason they started was because of the money they were losing for advertisers pulling out. Those videos have been on YouTube for years, and you're saying the government is now the fault of doing it for the pressure, yet they've been pressuring them for years and YouTube ignored it, and the only reason they ever change is because they're losing money.
Yeah, money. But what I'm saying is, now that Google are buckling under the pressure and doing all these bots, rightly or wrongly, that's not the point. The point is, these bots are now starting to penalise YouTubers like you, like Zeb, like Big Daddy, like me, because these bots are going out into YouTube land, Facebook land, whatever, willy-nilly, and they're copywriting or deleting or warning content creaters of subject that is irrelevant.
The other reason sorry,
and
Steve, I didn't mean to cut you off. The other thing I will point out, and I'm going to have to go here in a moment, but to touch on something that Steve hasn't mentioned yet that might better answer your question, which I think probably is a little more relevant to what you're trying to ask, which is, why now? Why all of a sudden are so many people, so many content creators, just in general, why are so many people talking about this? And really and truly, I'd say where it probably started happening is when conservative-based content viewers started having problems with their videos. So I would say look a little bit into that route. I can list off at least 4 content creators that come to mind who have been impacted by this, but that's just my 2 cents. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna have to take off.
Before you go, where it started is the Wall Street Journal.
There's probably a few others, but yes, you're not wrong. But there were others too. But yes, Wall Street Journal is definitely a big highlight. But
they're the ones who started. Like the people who were the conservative people were not cut out at that point. Like they weren't being targeted until they were forced to be targeted because all of these companies were leaving YouTube and stuff. Like Coke and Pepsi and Nike and all these other companies were leaving the advertising, and they were like 90% of the people who are advertising on YouTube. So when you bring those people out, and Wall Street Journal attacked PewDiePie because he's the biggest YouTuber and we want to hurt YouTube. Well, they obviously didn't realize that the giant YouTuber is not going to be bothered by your stupid petty attack. Then because he had easy out on the discussion. They were like, it's just jokes. You're making a big fuss about a joke. Then they'd go the same route except switch it. Instead of attacking YouTube or a YouTuber, they're attacking the companies. And they're even, you can look at the tweets, the guy who wrote the article saying that, these companies, they're advertising on this terrorist video and they don't seem to care. And then some of the companies pull their money out, and the other companies.
Good night, everyone in the chat.
Take it easy,
Jonas.
Take it easy.
Good night, Jonas.
Good night, all.
They and the people who do leave, then they start making more tweets about saying these other companies, these companies seem to care, but these companies don't care. So they're attacking YouTube at the heart of what YouTube wants to do, which is make money. So it has nothing to do with government attacks or anything. Yes, they were being pressured. They were being pressured for years prior to that. They started actually getting effective pressure when companies were societally being attacked by people saying, "Oh, you support terrorists because you're putting money in it." Like, no, they pull their money and they're like, "I don't want you to think that of us." So we're getting away from YouTube until YouTube fixes it. But the only way YouTube can fix it is to hurt people who they're previously trying to help. So, like, they have their only option to make money and to keep YouTube afloat is to appease the companies who are now at the mercy of the society attacking them based on whether they happen to have an ad randomly show with some horrible video.
Yeah, I mean, really, all I'm trying to get at is I just wonder how far the day is off when Big Daddy gets a stern warning from YouTube because he said he didn't like KDE or he didn't like so-and-so. And that's actually not within YouTube's new terms and guideline policy. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm just... And so many big...
At least at that point, he'd know why.
Really? And
nobody's going to mess with Rocco because they mess with Rocco, they're messing with me.
That's right.
My understanding is, though, that they never tell you why.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. If that was why and they told you why, that would be great because at least you'd know at that point.
Yeah, I mean, look at Toss videos where he did some innocuous baseball game with his kid, stickball. And that got a hit saying it wasn't YouTube advertiser friendly. Where is that coming from?
They don't watch the videos. Like the algorithm doesn't even look
It's
at the
not
videos.
it's just bots.
No, it doesn't
And
even
this
look
is
at
what I'm
videos.
saying.
It listens to the audio because it transcribes the audio into the so it can see what you say. It doesn't actually watch anything, and so it takes the transcriptions, takes the descriptions, takes the keywords, takes the all the metadata like titles and stuff, and then tries to find anything that might not apply to what they want. Anything in there, even if it's innocuous and it just seems like it might be bad, they take it down. And I've got hit by it and have no reason. There's absolutely no reason why it was hit. But like, there's also a guy who teaches. He works with YouTubers, teaches them how to use YouTube stuff, and like looks at the algorithm and stuff. And that's his entire channel is just teaching people to use YouTube. So he's actually been contacted as like an ambassador for the YouTube company and has been there multiple times, like getting behind the scenes stuff and all this other things. And he got hit just a few days ago. And his response was, after he talked with the people he knows at YouTube, he found out the reason why he got hit by the algorithm is because he had a keyword that said selling on Amazon, how to make money on Amazon. Which, just because that sort of feels like a scam, because there's a lot of people who put videos on YouTube that are just like, hey, this is how you do something. And you go to that video and it's like, psych, go to this website instead. And it's so that they kind of like flagged him for doing that, even though he didn't do it. So like, there's innocuous things that happen.
It'd be interesting to watch this video then, because we've talked about a number of subjects that are taboo, whether or not Big Daddy gets a strike, whether the algorithm is that accurate. And,
yeah, but this is a little bit different, I think, than getting a strike. This is more, the monetization goes off of the video.
Yeah, there's no strike.
I don't even think the Friday Night Live shows are monetized, so it wouldn't be a big deal for this. I did get a strike on one of my videos before, which had nothing to do with anything, and I went through the whole process, and they, put it back on and let it go. Mm-hmm. But the monetization of what's happening with these new videos, you upload it, and immediately it gets demonetized, and you have no recourse because they don't tell you what they're doing to it or why it's been flagged. And you can do a manual review, but you have to have 1,000 views in the last 7 days of the video in order to get a manual review. And there's no way any of my videos are going to get 1,000 views in 7 days. They may get 1,000 views over, a week or 2 weeks period, 3 weeks, maybe a month, but they're not going to get that. So there's no recourse. You have no recourse whatsoever. You got to deal with it. And it would be awesome if YouTube could be a little bit more transparent about everything, so you know what's going on. But that ain't going to happen because they are who they are.
There's also interesting aspects as to like what gets you the flag. Like, how do you get the flag? And it doesn't even make sense. Like, there are certain cases where I've tested it where I had an account that has enough to get monetization, but I never activated monetization. So then I just activated monetization after I got my first demonetization hit. It's not a strike. It's just like, hey, this is not monetized. Or it's limited, but they don't tell you what if it's any or all or whatever. But so I uploaded the same video that I got hit on the other channel that just got monetization and monetized that video only. The tags and everything are exactly the same. Didn't get hit. And it's been up for a few days since the hit of my other one. So like there is really no logic around what is happening. It seems to be randomness. Like maybe if you have a certain amount of subscribers and then you do something that they can hit you on, maybe they'll hit you. But if you don't have enough people to watch it, maybe they don't care. I don't know. It's really weird.
Yeah, like the one video here, it says not suitable for all advertisers. So it's not a strike. It just removes the monetization from it. So
right.
You're pretty much, and there's no recourse
to it. And they don't give you a reason for that.
There's no reason whatsoever. They won't give you a reason
until you get 1,000. I have one video that's got a strike on, or not a strike. It's got a demonetization hit. And I think it's at like 950. So I might be able to figure it out at some point. We'll see.
Do you have any, Steve, that got hit?
I've had my previous channel banned for displaying what I thought was tasteful wallpapers with semi-naked ladies on. And the whole channel just got took down. Bang. And I'm like, really? Wow. Okay. I've had a couple of videos on my current channel demonetized as not suitable for advertising. But let's be honest, if it's me, who cares, really? Does it matter in the scheme of things? No. If it's Zeb, if it's, other, do we care? No, not really. If you're paying your mortgage every month via YouTube, that's a world of doo-doo for you, isn't it? That's a big deal. If you're a Casey Neistat, if you're a PewDiePie, you don't give a shiny one. You've already got millions in the bank. But smaller people like us who, if you like, aspire to do this full time, is it really a reliable way of making a living? And you'd have to say, in today's environment, absolutely not. It's as dangerous as heck.
Not anymore. It's not.
No, absolutely.
You have to have at least 50,000 subscribers for there even be possible for it to become like a full-time job with ads. Like
But
before,
even if-
prior,
Even if
before
you
this
had
thing.
that many, I don't think it's a good idea to use YouTube as your
Yeah.
full-time job. I mean, it just doesn't seem to be wise because at any moment they could cut that off.
Mhm. You have
And
no,
you
you
have
have no
nothing.
real right.
Well, you have to create multiple streams, which is why I think things like Twitch are very important because you can make money off of Twitch as well. So if you're making money on YouTube and it's becoming your main income and you're about to leave your job for it, then you better have some other things going on other platforms that you start extending. Because really, at that point, you're trying to bring your audience across platforms, which is why you'll see a lot of YouTubers and Twitch streamers and everybody else pushing their social channels like Twitter and everything else. You want to get your audience following you to whatever platform that you go to. And that's why it's important to have that competition out there. DTube's interesting. Have you guys taken a look? Because if you go to it, it almost looks like you're sitting on YouTube when you're there. All the top videos, of course, are all I'm moving from YouTube right now that I'm looking at right now. But it's interesting.
There's a couple of faces on there. I took a quick look at it tonight. There's a couple of faces on there that I follow on my regular YouTube channel, and I think if they start spreading it through social media, you're not going to. A lot of people may not know the difference initially until they realize that there's only a handful of videos up there. And as far as your wallpapers go, Steve, they're no worse than what you see on the back of a semi-trucker's mat, or mud flaps. I know the ones you're talking about because they're very similar to that. With the silhouette of the girl sitting back or whatever, and but I do think that there needs some competition somewhere. Oops, I don't know if that's.
I'm really sorry to embarrass myself here, but how are you spelling DTube? Because if I type DTube in Google, all I get is
it's
Pornhub.
DTube.video, and it is interesting that it's not coming up in search engines,
isn't it? Yeah,
yeah.
All I get is Pornhub, straight up.
What's interesting is they're actually showing how much money each video has created so far.
Yes.
The person has earned, and the video that I see with the most money at the moment looks like Google, the multi-billion-dollar CIA government information monopoly, at $118. So they're making some money there. I mean, it takes a lot of videos on YouTube when you're a smaller channel to make $118. So if they can bring the money. I don't know how they're making money or bringing money, but if they can bring the money to the content creators, they may have something. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, Jerry Banfield's another. He's a gamer channel, is what it is, and he's up there at what, $85 or something like that too. So, and I must apologize. For whatever reason, I didn't hear. I can't see Steve, and I couldn't even hear him before, so I just went to a different browser. So I apologize.
Well, his video is frozen, and it's been frozen since he came on. But it's something to do with appear in and the connection. Where if his connection is slow, I will hear it, and some of the other guys will hear it, but not everybody will hear him talking. So then you got two people talking at the same time, and neither of them hears the other one. So I wasn't trying to interrupt you or anything. I was. Just
I could hear him now. I didn't want to be talking over him, so I apologize because I couldn't hear a word he was saying. I actually had to turn on YouTube here just to see if anybody was talking. That's how I figured out. And by the way, Rocco, check her out, baby.
Nice. Yeah. The coffee tastes
How is
better.
the coffee in that?
I don't know. I haven't filled
Oh
it.
man.
Well, it works with Coke, water, anything tastes better.
Oh, here you go. I haven't even washed it yet. So
Yeah,
there you go.
water.
You don't have to. Yeah, we clean them before we ship them out.
I'm telling you, that's going to be the best water you've ever tasted.
Let us know. Let us know.
Sorry, can I
As I peel off the chair, right?
Wait, hold on. Let me verify that. Mm-hmm.
That would have been much
man.
funnier if he'd have choked.
Okay, yeah.
He's like,
So
Can you just
I
tell me
did
the
sign up.
DTube address again, please?
It's
What is it?
dtube.video.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And they load like instantly right now, but that could be because there's nothing on there. There's only a handful of videos on there.
I did sign up for an account on DTube, but you have to sign up through Steemit, I think it is, and you have to wait to get an account. So now BitChute,
Mickey
Colin,
Mouse? We can't hear
Colin,
you.
I'm
I'll
sorry,
in.
but your mic is so Mickey Mouse that we can't hear it.
Refresh, drop out, refresh. That happens on Hangouts
You
too.
love the streaming.
I don't
So-
like that they're making me put my phone number in to create an account. I hate giving my phone number because then I know they're saying they're not going to give it to anybody, but then I just get nonstop calls from telemarketers. It seems I don't know.
Well, BitChute, you can make an account right away, but DTube, you have to make a Steemit account, and they have to actually approve it. I don't know how long that takes, but so I did make an account. We'll see how long it takes to actually get them.
Well, you can see if they know the difference and just do a Google Voice phone number.
Steemit's weird.
What is it? What exactly is Steemit?
It's a social network that pays you to use it.
It's a
Supposedly
what?
gives you rewards and stuff.
This is how they're giving. This is how they're monetizing DTube is through Steam.
Yeah.
Steemit.com.
Yeah. And
That is
Steemit-
really interesting. If you
Weird.
search for DTube on Bing, it will not come up whatsoever. Go on to
That's
Google.
that is absolutely expected. I can guarantee you won't find
Unbelievable.
it because
I'm
it's
shocked.
only existed for less than a month.
Are we talking censorship on the internet here? I'm absolutely shocked.
Well, Bing is owned by
Because SEO
Microsoft.
does
is-
not work within a couple weeks.
There you go, Steve. I put a link in the chat for it.
The domain dtube.video did not exist a month ago.
Right.
So it's not as shocking that they don't have SEO, considering it takes a minimum of a month to get on the search engines. Period.
Yeah, and I'll say even like DuckDuckGo and everybody else doesn't have it on there either.
Google has it. I'm just saying. I'm throwing it
Google
out
it
there that
straight
Google
in,
has it on
yeah.
there.
Comes straight up on Google.
Right on the search. It's the first one on the search.
Absolutely, yeah.
Don't try it there, Ryan. I know you don't like Google, so don't try it, okay?
Don't worry, I won't be. I don't hate Google. I'm with a lot of the folks on here. I think that there's a situation where a company has become such a part of your life and people trust blindly with everything that they're giving to these companies, and it's dangerous, not necessarily because Google's going to do something with it, but the affiliates of Google and other people can do with it. You know, it goes into the whole privacy conversation even we had in our podcast discussion earlier with our special guest. So, I mean, there's just a lot of things when you've got one major company that everybody's using, and the company's sole basis is collecting information on you to sell to advertisers, to be using every item that they release out there for free, and everybody, you know, just jumps in. And that's why, like Google Chrome and things like that, I try to avoid, because I really don't want all of my information given to a single provider out there. I think it's dangerous for the future, and not because even people say sometimes, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, why are you worried about it? It's not necessarily what you're doing wrong or that you think you're breaking major rules. It's things like health insurance in the future that you could be, it's very possible in the future that that type of information you're providing to companies could be used to determine to turn you down for health insurance. You
Yeah,
don't think
I'm
it would
I'm
happen?
just-
I mean,
Well,
come on.
I'm just so glad I'm on the back nine of life, really, because you know when you think about it, really, you know, if
Can I
I
use that
say
one, Steve?
if I say to a woman in this day and age, "Oh my God, your hair looks gorgeous," I'm up in court for sexual assault. You know, how long is it going to be before we see the women's movements and women's rights movements on TV saying nobody wolf whistles at us anymore? Oh, really? I wonder why. It's unbelievable.
But I think everybody's getting used to it. And Ryan, you said about the privacy aspect, and people don't, you know, it said about people don't care. And it's slowly evolving, you know, and it's almost being built into the culture. So like years ago, if you said you smoked, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But now in today's day and age, where your health premiums go up if you're a smoker, it's all being built into how people think, because now you're convincing people to say, well, yeah, why should I pay high premiums of insurance if that guy's not going to take care of himself and smoke? And now you're actually changing people's minds and the way they view things, and that's actually a dangerous thing, because
it is a very dangerous thing, Big Daddy, because let me just throw this at you, right? A man and a woman procreate and keep our species alive, correct?
Yep.
So why should gay people have exactly the same rights when, if the whole world turned gay tomorrow, within 100 years our species would die out? That's how messed up
a man and a woman procreate to create gay people. So
really, you think they procreate to create gay people? Wow.
That's the only way they can exist. Wow. Isn't that true?
Well,
yeah,
we are so far off topic, Rocco. Bring it back. Bring it back.
This is supposed to be about Linux.
Let's not go down this road.
So Linux, for example, when you procreate Linux and a desktop environment.
Copyright strike for having unsavory views. I do apologise.
Well, look, all I'm saying is it's a dangerous road to go down when you start using the information that is just normal information, and you start giving it to a bunch of companies. And even though I use Chrome, we joke about it all the time, I use Chrome, but it is dangerous for some huge company like Google to have so much information about you that can be used in the wrong way, in the wrong hands. And Steve, you mentioned it before. You could go back to all of the platforms. Can you imagine if all this information did get into the wrong hands? You could pretty much take people out of their general life by shutting down every account they have if it all got into the wrong hands. So
Ski Meister would like to say, how about that Rocket League?
I'm sorry. Is the term Rocket League politically correct? Are we going to get a YouTube channel?
Yes, let's make sure Rocket League is correct.
Oh my gosh.
Well, look, we were playing Rocket League and Ski was there, and he was
he trolled me. He trolled
did. He was
me. Let's
trolling.
be honest. I was not. I don't know what to think of Ski. Then he said. Then I scored a point after he trolled me, and he goes, "See, I'm encouraging you." So I don't know if he's helping.
Anyway, listen, guys, I have to go to work. Big Daddy, a sincere thanks for asking me on. You gentlemen, absolutely wonderful bunch of gentlemen. Whatever it is that floats your boat, keep doing it, because the world needs people like you with your liberal, open views. I think it's amazing. Just leaves me to say, sorry?
I was just going to say my ocean is filled with dolphin.
Really?
KDE dolphin.
He's a lovely guy. I love Run with a Dolphin. Have you watched his? He's just amazing. Oh, sorry, did I get that wrong? Anyway, listen, guys, Big Dad, my sincere
See you, man.
See you.
Peace, much love. Look after yourselves, and I'll catch you in the not too distant future. Thanks, everybody. Cheers, BD. Take it easy.
See you, man.
Never a dull moment.
Never. I think it's. I know that things may get close to getting out of hand, but
Rocco, you lose control in this show. Where is your leadership?
But it's not about control. It's about this is where the conversation.
You've got to stop the free speech. This is YouTube, after all.
Yeah, I should probably censor everybody and tell them what they can and can't say. This is my channel, for crying out loud. I'll tell you what you can say and what you can't.
I couldn't hear Steve at all.
Steve,
really?
Colin, you're back.
Yes, I am.
We haven't heard your voice since you got here. All
Your
we heard
real
was
voice.
Mickey Mouse.
What was it?
You spoke too soon.
No, default settings have changed on me. I didn't realise. I don't know why.
To be honest with you, I'm going to have to try to find a better solution than appear in for this, because I think it's actually appear in the amount of people that join, and then the last people that are joining, their connection doesn't get through quite right. And so I'm going to have to look into it's just that appear in is so easy for everybody to use.
Yeah.
It lends itself to just, hey, here's the link, join in a web browser,
And the
But
grid style is really
That's
important.
the same thing with Hangouts. The more people you get, the worse the streaming gets. So I don't know if there's another platform that's going to be the same way with the amount of people or not, or how it works.
Well, the problem is
Maybe
that most of these
YouTube has a
platforms are
solution.
going the Hangout style of display, so that only one video at a time is displayed, and Appearant has the grid styles, so which for a multi-person stream, this style is a much better way.
It's awesome.
Can you imagine if we were like 8 of us were all talking at once on a Hangouts? The screen would be flipping back and forth. You know.
Well, the other thing too is in Hangouts, which nobody ever remembers to do or not usually, is you can lock on the person that's talking or whatever too. But that's kind of a pain in itself.
But that's almost like work,
this
man.
is really nice. It is, yeah. Really.
You expect me to do stuff?
You expect me to actually lock people on the screen? I mean, jeez.
No. It's just this is a lot nicer. It's a lot more fluid. This platform too. So I think if there's a way of figuring out the bandwidth issue, because that's what it comes down to. I think is just
You're talking about the guy that can't even install Manjaro.
Well, apparently, yeah, right. Apparently, they say that the streaming quality gets better. Like when we started Destination Linux, we were on Appearant, and I actually paid for Appearant. I think it was $10.99 a month or something like that for the first month or two. And they say the stream quality is better if you're paying for it when you get more people on. But we never tested that, and we only had like at the most one person on at the same time, or one extra guest. So it was only 3 at a time, so we never really stressed that. But this is the free version, so I don't pay for my account anymore. So that may be why the streaming is
They're punishing you.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of seems weird. That I would like to see how they have this structured, because if it's going through their servers, then they have to be pushing a lot of bandwidth. But the technology they're using is peer-to-peer, so that confuses me. So like they use WebRTC, just like Jitsi does, just
Let me
like
see if I can find it.
OpenTalk does. So if they use WebRTC, then it doesn't matter if you have Pro or not. It shouldn't have any effect. Typically, the problem is I've done multiple testing with WebRTC, and it may have improved since I've done it. It was like a year ago. I tested it like extensively, but once you have a certain amount of people, if they don't have a good enough connection or a fast enough computer, it could like pull it. Not everyone, just pull them down. So like they can't handle all the streams coming to them because it's multiple streams at a time. So if their internet's good and their computer is like somewhat old, it could actually have a bottleneck that way.
Well, the Appearant is $12 a month now, and it's up to 12 people in one room. So I don't know exactly how many we could get in here on the free version, because we had 8, I think, at the most. But it says, now it doesn't give any specifics on bandwidth or anything, but it says better stability and quality in group calls with your team. So I have no idea if that's factual better quality or if that's just the label they have on it, but that's what they say.
Yeah, that seems weird. It shouldn't have any difference. It should be mostly.
Well, they probably give you traffic prioritization if you.
Frank says it sounds like they need to buy more T-shirts.
It sounds like we need to buy more T-shirts.
Yeah. Well, hey, just
Frank
so everybody
is now marketing
knows,
director.
just so everybody knows, we did redo the Destination Linux apparel link, so you can go to that link and still buy it. We redid it, so if you didn't get it the first time and it ended, and I set it to redo itself every time. So
now, Rocco,
can
you put names above people? Is there any editing options within?
No, I mean I could do it in OBS, but they change constantly. Every time somebody connects, they move, and it would be
a nice feature they would add.
Little stickers on our heads.
We put stickers on our heads. All right, everyone, next week when you come on, please bring a sticker and put it on your head.
Don't forget to write it backwards.
That's awesome. Yes, exactly. Write it back. That's good, Zeb.
Did you see what I just did there? If you turn your video off, you could change it from guest to your name, but the only time it's visible is when your video's shut off.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was the outcome of the previous conversation? I was doing a lot of listening there, but I missed a little bit of the end. But where's everyone moving to? Where are we all migrating to?
I don't think we're migrating anywhere, dude. I don't think
Rocco
there's
and I are gonna take over DTube. We're gonna be the kings of DTube. Yeah.
Well,
I
I'll tell
think,
you what. I'll be honest with you. Right now is like the perfect time to get into something like
telling
that
you, we're
because
gonna be the king.
when something's new, if you start out, you jump on the bandwagon late. You got if you're going to do it, you should do it now. That's what I'm saying.
Well, there's nothing
not
that keeps
like
you from
it's on-
dual uploading your videos, right? You could upload it to DTube, you could upload it to YouTube.
No, you're right, but I had already started uploading my videos to vid.me, just more or less as a backup than anything. But the problem is, I don't have the time to upload the videos to all these places like vid.me and then BitChute and then DTube. So you have to more or less pick one and go with it. Is it
Michael,
going to
what
be
was that?
BitChute? Is it going to be DTube? I don't know.
What was that
What is the-
multiple uploader program you had?
Multiple.
there's a
upload
couple.
program.
There's a couple, but what I was referring to last time is as a multiple stream system.
What do you guys
there
keep
isn't-
saying? BitChute?
BitChute.
BitChute.
CHUTE.
BIT, isn't it? BitChute. I found
BIT.
BitChute.
As
For
in
the,
BitTorrent.
for the non-Google user, I'm going to put the link in.
Hey,
The YouTube
I
chat.
would have, but I don't.
You
have
won't
the
find
power.
it in DuckDuckGo. It'll only be in Google. So there you go. It's in the YouTube chat.
It might be in DuckDuckGo on about the third page or something, is it? Or
Well, the 9th on DuckDuckGo.
Oh my gosh. All these Google users.
I'm telling you.
They complain about it and then they use it. It makes
All
no
right.
sense.
we are so spoiled.
All right. So, Michael, tell me again what this. I'm looking at it and I still don't understand. What is this Steam? What do you do? You post stuff and
It
they
doesn't
pay
even
you?
make sense. The way
Like
they
what is
describe
that
it.
all about?
I don't know.
So Steemit
It's like a
is
feed.
the
It looks like a
advertising
newsfeed.
platform,
It's
right?
it's
They're
like
the
a
one that
Twitter.
pay you.
No.
And then
It's a social media system. It's a social media network that they pay you to post on their network, and they do it by like affiliate. So every time you post something, there's like an ad, and then when people click the ad, you get a credit for it. It's things like that.
yeah. But
It's very weird.
But that's separate from actual DTube in a way. I mean,
No,
you have to log
use
into it,
Steam
but they
to
use
make
it.
money.
They're two separate entities, though.
Oh, so what you're saying is
Well,
when you
no, one's dependent on the other
upload to DTube, you're actually making the money from Steemit.
Exactly.
Yes, yes. They're separate, but they're interconnected.
So
Which is-
you will
there's
see
multiple
those
reasons.
posts. You will see the posts in Steemit and the video in YouTube. I mean DTube.
No idea.
Or
It's
just
only been
one?
around for like a month, so I don't know if there's been testing to show.
Well,
When I
So
look at
in
the
BitChute, is there a way to make money?
I don't know. I created an account. I don't know yet.
Make Bitcoin,
BitChute
probably.
is that BitTorrent thing.
So, Rocco, you're on vid.me as well, are you?
Yes, I am. But I only started uploading my videos there because, like I said, I wanted a backup of my videos, so that if YouTube ever said, you know what, we don't like your channel,
Right.
I have them there.
I've got an account on there because I followed EB. So I think I signed up last week or something to follow EB. So what's your name on
Big Daddy
on
Links.
vid.me?
I was
Big
just
Daddy
going to give
Links?
you 3
Okay,
guesses.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Okay. I'll have a look.
Well, that's the thing. You almost need, like with the setup the way vid.me is, you need to have your connections with people to actually get
Yes.
popular. That's
Yes.
what it relies on, is you following people and other people following you. So, I mean, I know that's kind of what it is at YouTube, but you don't have to. You can get through YouTube through searches. Vid.me doesn't have that.
What made you
That
choose
search-
Vid.me when you were looking for backup?
I was looking for a backup, and vid.me's been around for a little bit anyway. But Vimeo I looked at, Daily Motion I looked at, and there was another one. There was actually, I think, one
Is Vimeo the one that's like, hey, pay us and you can upload your videos?
But it never used to be that way. You could upload to
That's
Vimeo.
a great business plan.
The only thing you had, it was a limit, I think the limit was 2 hours or something like that for a video. There was no paying them. And then they all of a sudden went to this pay, they slowly went to this pay thing where it was like, now you have to pay to upload this amount of videos.
You know what's
No,
really
we
cool
have a
about
pro tool.
vid.me is you just provide them the YouTube link and they download it to your account. How cool is
Yeah,
that?
but you're limited to 30 minutes unless you've got 50 followers.
Yes.
Oh.
You have to get verified. And I'm in the process of getting verified, but you have to have the people you have to have the followers, like I was saying, you have to be connected with everybody in order to do that. So
And where does it say how many followers you got?
let me see. I don't know. I don't remember exactly.
So you earn money
exactly.
through paid subscriptions, so like a Twitch account where people can subscribe to you, which is very hard to get people to pay monthly fees for that type of stuff. And then there's paid tips, so people can tip you, like in Twitch. And it looks like they're trying to start some monetization type things they're talking about, but they don't have it yet.
There's the link in the chat for the vid.me channel.
Yeah, I've just refreshed, and you got 3 followers at the moment.
Yeah.
Now, do you get 30 minutes total for all your videos, or just you can't have a video over 30 minutes?
Can't have a video over
minutes.
30 minutes. Yeah.
That's not too bad. I don't have a lot of videos over 30 minutes.
So you're
I
saying
have
you
one or
can't do a
two.
search like in YouTube? Did you say you can't do a search like in YouTube? Like you can't search for like...
No, what I'm
general
saying
video
is
or something?
it's not that you can't search, you can, but it doesn't have the searching power that YouTube has. When you want a video, you don't go to vid.me, you go to YouTube. So you don't have. That's why you need the connections with the people, because that's how you're going to gain the popularity.
See you, Clifford.
Clifford, you're leaving?
He's
All
off
right,
to
man.
La La Land. Great place.
All right. Well, check out the episode Sunday morning, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back on topic.
Yeah.
So about that Linux.
Is it Linux?
Yeah.
Is it Linux? Is that all?
GNOME are finally going to remove that legacy system tray that you guys were moaning about a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, but they're doing it in the best Microsoft way ever. They're just saying we're removing it. We're done. That's it. So if you rely on any applications that have it or that use it, too bad. Sorry. Go somewhere else.
Which is like most things.
Yeah, but it just seems to me that it's the brute force way rather than. I mean, I know they say they left it in there for this long to try to push applications to create or to modify their developers to modify their applications, so they didn't rely on that. And it didn't work, so now they're going to have to just remove it altogether. But like I said, you know who suffers? The people that actually depend on that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The applications that depend, like for example, Telegram uses the little.
Are you saying that GNOME is doing something regardless of what people's opinions of it are?
Yes, exactly.
Never.
But and the thing is, the users are the ones that suffer. The ones that like that are the ones that suffer. Not GNOME doesn't suffer from it, and really, it doesn't really bother anybody
GNOME
else
does not get
except
bad press for anything they do, even if it's stupid.
Well, that's because they're Microsoft-esque.
Why do I mean? I don't understand why they don't get nothing. Like this is an incredibly horrible decision. They in 3.16 they moved the tray to that bottom left slide out thing that no one likes, and everyone
for no apparent reason.
For no apparent reason, they didn't explain why they were doing it, just because they don't like it. And if they had put it on a top right slide out, it would still be dumb, but it wouldn't be as dumb. But
you guys don't mind if I have more coffee, do you?
Only if you put it in the cup.
Hold on, I used to do this on Destination Linux every week.
Now I want to go to the bathroom.
Anyway, go ahead, Michael. Sorry.
Well, it's just like they changed it to a way that everyone hates, and which made top icons so much more popular. Like one of the top 5 things everyone installs because it's so ridiculous. And they don't care that most people hate their decision. And now that they've realized that most people hate their decision, they're going to make it worse by removing it entirely.
Yes.
But also, more importantly, yes, GTK3 support is still there, and you can still use top icons. GTK4 support is gone. 100% gone. No API. You will not be able to use an extension with it.
Great.
And why do they do it? Because GNOME doesn't care what you think.
Somehow it doesn't sound like you like GNOME very much, Michael.
I used to love GNOME. I used to be a part of GNOME.
Don't sugarcoat it.
That's
Tell us how you really feel.
But when I talk to them and they basically show that they don't care what even people who contribute to them does. It's like, I know, I'm done. And now, and every time they updated it, broke all kinds of things. Now they're going to make a thing where the vast majority of their users think their decision is horrible, and they're going to remove it entirely, and you have no recourse whatsoever with the new toolkit version. That's crazy. But what is people talking about? Well, they're thanking Canonical for making that not stupid and fixing it. So like, people get Canonical gets a ton of hate for doing anything good, basically doing anything they get hate, and then GNOME does incredibly dumb things, and no one seems to care. Like why do they get a pass?
Well, there was a heated discussion in the Telegram group the other day, and last night I think it was, about Canonical and everything, and people have some serious hate for that company.
Right.
I don't know why.
Because they've helped move Linux forward tremendously.
Exactly,
I know they've done
because
some terrible. I'm not terrible. I know they've done some dumb things that people, at least what I heard, and you guys know I'm fairly on the new side to Linux, but I heard they did some things with Amazon and advertising and things like
people
that.
Say they did stuff and they didn't do it.
Yeah,
they didn't understand what was going on.
But I just think Canonical, for what they've done for Linux, has been far more than anything they've ever done negatively. It far outweighs it, let me put it that way. And my understanding is that Amazon thing, whether it was real or not, is non-existent anymore. Ubuntu is definitely one of the reasons I moved to Linux, because it was the easiest to install. It always installs, and it ran everything incredibly well. So I always will have a love for it. Is it my preferred distro now? Not necessarily, but I would use it tomorrow if I had to, over Windows for sure.
I agree.
If Canonical decided to drop it tomorrow, so many distributions would disappear.
Yeah, yep. I mean, we would not be having this conversation right now if it wasn't for Canonical.
And they bring the big partners in too. They're bringing the NVIDIA, they're bringing the Intel, they're bringing these big manufacturers in because they have some clout. And without them, I don't think you would have the support you have for Linux.
How many in here? I was just a quick question. How many in here are a Linux user primarily because of Ubuntu?
Me.
So basically everyone. Colin, was your first distro?
No. Red Hat Knoppix was given to me through the mail, and then I ended up on Fedora because the boss's son gave me Fedora, so I started out with Fedora.
I am so glad you are in here, because my bet was 80% of all people who use Linux are thanks to Ubuntu, and you are helping my percentage being true. So I appreciate that.
Well, I started out on Ubuntu early on, and I went to Fedora early on, and then I came back to Ubuntu, and I've been there ever since.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, but like it's not. It didn't bring everybody, but it brings so many people that they shouldn't hate them. They should have, like, maybe I don't like them. They're doing things I don't like, but to have a hatred for them is just crazy.
Yes,
and everything they make like every argument I've ever seen is wrong. Just ridiculous. They say things that are not true. Like one dude said, the whole Amazon thing. Well, that's because you don't understand the Amazon thing.
That dude was DOS Geek, man.
I'm not talking about you in this particular example just now. I'm saying the guy who told you that, or the guy who told me that, didn't understand that they were saying it's spyware. Well, it can't be spyware when what you do goes from your computer to Ubuntu, obfuscated from Ubuntu servers to Amazon. When you have the obfuscation filter, it's not spyware. Like, that doesn't even make sense.
Right. That's true.
So and also people said it for a long time, and they didn't.
They still say it. There's still articles out there that they still search and see it. Yeah. What's
worse is that 2 years ago when it was removed, like in 2015, I think it was 2015, they removed the Amazon thing, and people kept saying it because the online search system was still there. It wasn't connected to Amazon in any way whatsoever, but the search results were still on by default. And people were like freaking out, like, why would you make it by default? Blah, blah, blah. Well, the vast majority of people aren't going to understand what the value is in the first place. So they're not going to turn it on by default because they don't know what it is. They're not even going to know that's an option. So because they're a business, when you want to test things at the biggest scale, you put it on by default. That's how business works. And if you don't like it, turn it off. Did they give you an option to turn it off? Yes. So is it a big deal? No. It's not. It's a dumb move because their results were awful. Like, it was just a terrible implemented thing. That's why it sucked. But
Now,
overall,
Robot is asking
not a
how
big
many
deal.
people have left Linux because of how crap Ubuntu is. I don't know anybody would have left Linux. They may have left Ubuntu if they didn't like it. I would never call it crap in any form or fashion. But they may have left that distro. I think a lot of people start with Ubuntu and move to different distributions, distro hopping being a thing.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
it's likely.
As far as
I
the
look
Amazon, Mike, as far as the Amazon thing goes, I looked at it as a marketing tool, and I think it was back in 1604 when they took it out. I don't know if it was quite 2 years ago. I mean, for whatever reason, I keep thinking 1604.
1604, they took it out entirely by default. 2000, the 1504 is when they took out the Amazon part of it.
Okay. Yeah, but I just looked at it more as not so much a spyware, but as a marketing tool for Amazon and maybe some, like you said, some funds generating. I didn't necessarily look at it like Microsoft's doing now, that every app. And see, we mentioned Bing before too. Bing wants, that's part of Microsoft right now, and they want you buying all their stuff through. That's why Windows is going where it is, because you can only buy stuff through their app store. So it's, to me, it was kind of the same thing but different. It wasn't something that they forced you on. That's the huge difference. Where Microsoft doesn't give you a choice. At least this did. And it was to make money. It wasn't so much, generate a little money and use it as a marketing tool. It wasn't so much, I don't think, to track you. I mean,
it wasn't to track you. Like, there wasn't any tracking in it whatsoever.
Right.
They specifically made a buffer point so there wouldn't be tracking.
Well, it's kind of funny because you can turn off the privacy issues, some of the privacy ones with Microsoft, if you actually trust that it's turning it off. But one of the things I did notice is that if you do one of their upgrades, their big upgrades, it removes all of that. So you'd have to, every time you upgrade, go back in and try to find all those privacy settings that are hidden in one of their 3 different settings panels to try to find it. And then there's an online settings, and then there's your operating system settings that are completely independent of each other. So you not only have to deactivate it within your system itself, but then there are other privacy options that are only accessible on the Microsoft web portal portion of their settings that they have. So it's this big conglomerate mess to make it confusing, much like I feel like Facebook, which I don't have Facebook, but a lot of my friends have it, and I had it before all the privacy issues came up. And I just remember, you can set up these special groups so that they can only see this, and then they had issues where the privacy stuff was removed at some points, and you just can't trust that stuff. You shouldn't have to deal with it. So when you talk about people leaving Linux because of Ubuntu being bad, no, I don't think so, because what's your alternative there? Windows? No.
But you're correct in saying that, because when it is, you don't have to wait for a big update. Anytime there's an update, which you don't have a choice anymore, they're always turning everything back on by default. And Facebook is the same way. You have to go in and periodically check your privacy settings because they conveniently turn it back on every time they do something too. And so where Windows is concerned, I mean, you're never going to be able to turn everything, even though when you're switching that off, you never turn it off completely. They always have some kind of telemetry going in the background, so you're just never going to get away from it by using that platform.
I don't want to derail the conversation, but I wanted to go back to kind of the sort of point of the GNOME thing, where GNOME doesn't get any flack, where Canonical gets flack just in general, just for existing.
Yes.
SUSE gets flack for being irrelevant, even though they do amazing things. Like whether they do bad things or good things, they just get mostly ignored and mocked, even though they do things that are amazing, like the Open Build Service or OpenQA and things like that. But Red Hat doesn't, GNOME doesn't get crap. Red Hat doesn't get crap. There's probably a connection there, considering GNOME is heavily funded by Red Hat, and a lot of the people who work on GNOME work for Red Hat. Maybe the automatic, pass is coming from the automatic pass thatRed Hat gets, which I also don't understand.
Fake news.
Well, how do you know they're not getting crap?
No.
Is that just your
Show me
anecdotal
someone.
feeling they don't get crap, or because
Show
you're not
me
seeing
someone.
it on the
Show
news
me
enough?
anyone.
Well, you're the one making the point, so I'm not going to go show it.
No,
I'm saying
you
is,
can't
do
show
you
a
just feel
negative, that's the point.
anecdotally that way? Because you're giving them crap now, and I'm sure there's a lot of people like you who feel the same way, that no
I'm
one
not
has
giving them
its
crap.
issues.
I'm pointing out that they don't get crap. I'm not saying that they deserve.
That's giving them crap.
No, I'm
Red
not.
Hat's mainly
It's more
I'll
directed
give, I'll
towards
give,
the
I'll give
users.
GNOME crap for sure, but I don't give Red Hat crap, even though they do things that people would give them crap for.
Red Hat's business orientated, not desktop orientated, pretty much.
Except they fly Fedora, which is desktop oriented.
And Red Hat costs a lot of money. Just go to their website and have a look.
Except for Red Hat also makes CentOS, which is free, and they also make Fedora, which is free. So
Fedora, which is free, that's exactly right. But they are mainly business orientated. So the general.
The only difference between Red Hat and Canonical is Ubuntu uses the same name regardless of enterprise or desktop. That's it.
Yes. Yes. But
Well,
I mean, I thought when Unity came out, I thought it was good. I liked it. But the only thing I didn't like is I would have liked to have been able to move the menu down the bottom, move it to the right, those simple little things. Because when you're a GNOME 2 user, you could do a lot of customizations and set up your desktop the way you like. That, to me, was annoying. That annoyed me. So I moved on to Linux Mint because that annoyed me.
Heather,
right?
Heather said, "Gnome is crap. Gnome is crap." There you go. I said it.
Hey,
Well, I
I
was
like
talking
GNOME.
about not giving Red Hat crap.
I like
Heather, you are completely correct, though.
She
see,
just gave it
Ubuntu-
crap. Now I have
Unity
proof.
by itself was more simplistic, and I think for people like most of us here, probably who because I remember, I think I was watching, I don't know if it was on the 18th, the show that I wasn't on that one, but I listened to it today, and I thought there was some discussion about that, about customization and things like that, and it's a more simplistic platform, and if you like to be able to move stuff around, like Colin's saying or whatever, it is something that it's a good starting. I think it's a good starting distro for somebody just coming to Ubuntu. But if you start getting into where we all want to tweak and make it look whatever we want to make it look like, then no, it's probably not good there. But that doesn't mean it's a bad distro. It's just, it's what do you want from the distro? And that's where you tend to start to become a hopper, because you never become happy enough with it. You always are looking for the next best thing.
Yeah, but I think the going back to the Ubuntu point, I think from my experience, most people that are criticizing Canonical and Ubuntu are the people that have been in Linux for a very long time.
Exactly.
That's true. Yep.
And it's not the newer users or even the newish users that are criticizing Canonical. It's the people that are using Red Hat, the people that are using Fedora that are the ones.
But
criticizing
that is a
Ubuntu.
really good point, and I think it's very poisonous to Michael's point, is that you've got a situation like when I started playing in Linux during my video series, and I started with Ubuntu like everybody. And the first thing that most people were supportive, but there were definitely some comments about, oh God, you're not a real Linux user if you're using Ubuntu and blah, 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 and a lot of that stuff. Well, I didn't know any better. So initially, I started looking like, well, gosh, I guess I'm not using real Linux here. So let me go and start looking for some other things. But that could also be, now I'm a tweaker. I love to play with stuff and, get my hands dirty and play with systems. But other people who are just looking for an alternative, that may completely dissuade them, because then they go try to install Manjaro, for instance, and can't get it to work. And they're like, Linux is crap. I'm going to go back to Windows. So it's a dangerous thing to go out there and just blanket statements something is crap, especially when the underlying architecture is something we all love so dearly.
Yeah, but even Windows users have had their moments of complaining about different ones that come out. There was ME, then there was...
Oh, that was amazing.
yeah. And you think about Windows 8.
When they removed the start button.
Well, Windows 8, and you don't hardly hear any complaining about Windows 8 anymore. Now that 10's out, and yet 10 caught a lot of flack for how they released it. So, did you pass out, Mike, or are you okay there? Do we need to send somebody over?
He poisoned my argument, so I had to go.
I figured. I thought maybe you do something. Or maybe you hit your head in the burp bag or something. I don't know.
He poisoned me, so I had to go with it.
Yeah. If you think back in the history of Windows, every 2 or 3 releases they came out with a crap one too. There's a few of them in between there. So, and there was
probably every other one, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, so and then when they got a good one, what they do, they trashed it. They went to something different. So
it was 95 was good for its time. 98 crap. 98 SE fixed it. Millennium Edition crap. XP fixed it. Vista crap. 7 fixed it. 8 crap. 10 fixed it.
Right, and 7 was basically a polished Vista, is what it was. So
they're all every single one of them that are good is a polished whatever the crappy one was before it.
Right.
Yeah, but Vista got a bad rap because everybody ignored Microsoft when they warned them that all of the controls that were in XP were going to be turned on. And all of a sudden, Vista came along and all the software manufacturers were going, oh, crap, our software don't work anymore. We didn't listen to Microsoft. So you can't blame the whole of Vista on Microsoft.
You can blame them because Windows 7 had support for the XP stuff. The way they fixed it was to provide support again.
So they just turned back off all of those.
Everything that broke stuff in Vista, they fixed it in 7. They also fixed it in Vista's SP2. So if you had Vista SP2, you also had all the features that 7 had as far as the XP mode and stuff.
So they tried to make a better software, a piece of software, but because nobody listened to them, they had to turn all the crap back on.
Well, the fact that they turned everything off by default was a bad idea, a.k.a. GNOME's decision to turn off the legacy tray.
Mm-hmm. But it's not
Heather,
like
Microsoft is crap. Microsoft is crap. I
But it's
love
not
it. Heather's
like
the one who
warned everybody.
provides the crap for
done it.
operating.
Microsoft were warning everybody for years that this was going to come off.
No, they didn't. Technically, they didn't warn that. They just said they're doing it. They didn't really warn anyone, and they didn't do it like, "Hey, there's an announcement." It was like, "Hey, this is a mailing list post that someone might see at some point and freak out and make a blog post about it," because that's what happened.
Well, there's a comment that SP2 saved Vista, but the reality of it is that's every polish or fix of the next version saved the previous one anyway. So it's kind of the same point.
Like there's like the main is just Windows is crap, then it's good, then it's better than its previous crap, then it becomes, and they just repeat this cycle over and over. Like they have never made a release where the prior release wasn't crap. Like it's just that's just how their structure is. Like 3.1 was crap. So like if you have this combination, like if you just go back to the before, like right after DOS, you can just every single one crap good every time.
It's interesting though, because Rosen mentioned I dislike Windows 10, which is what brought me to Linux. I've noticed a lot of that in my channel. A lot of the people who watch my channel are newer to Linux, and a lot of them have come from Windows 10. Complete disappointment in Windows 10, and privacy isn't the number one thing. A lot of the complaints I hear are the forced updates and things like that.
But as far as like the system itself isn't that bad. Like they didn't make a huge blunder like they did with 8 or they did with Vista or they did with whatever.
I would agree with that, definitely. Yeah.
It's just
well, I
like
guess it depends on what you consider a
blunder. Yeah.
They
didn't make their typical blunder. Well, I guess not typical if you follow the patterns, but it's not a huge blunder like, say, a Millennium version would be, but it's still a blunder in how they implemented the features. It's also a blunder in how everything is hidden in, the panels. For instance, they try to make things so simplified that you've got 3 different versions of a control panel. You've got this GUI dummy version that doesn't have anything that anybody with any technical sense could use. And then if you dig down deeper, you've got this other settings panel, which is where you can change some privacy stuff. And then you've got another control panel, which is the original one that we're used to, where you can get into your network and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's just they've buried all of this stuff within all of this crap, trying to make it more user-friendly and try to force this architecture. The thing that shocked me the most recently, and I think I mentioned this last time, was I was doing a Windows 10 install and for someone else on their laptop, and I went to install Krita for them, and it said, this is not a part of Windows software. This could have, like they usually do, malicious content, etc. But the wording specifically was, this is not a piece of software that's in the Microsoft App Store.
That's right. That's exactly what I was saying. They're pointing people away to just their apps, and not to cut you off, but that's exactly what they're doing. And eventually, you're not even going to be able to put. I use a lot, even on my Windows side of my computers. I always use the open source stuff, and eventually, you're not going to be able to do that because they're shutting it down.
Now, think if you're a non-technical user and you see this could be malicious, you need to use our App Store. Well, the first thing you're going to do is I'm going to cancel out of that, even though, DOS Geek told me to get this. I'm going to go to the App Store and type in, some type of program or painter and get whatever they have there. So they're really forcing this architecture, and they're playing on the fact that a lot of non-technical people use Windows 10, use Windows. A lot of technical people use it too, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of non-technical people using their platform, probably the vast majority.
Well, Michael likes it because it looks like a KDE version, like Ubuntu,
They did. They ripped
They
off
even
KDE.
admitted, copying some of the stuff out of there. So whatever.
All right, I've got to go, guys. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for having me again.
See you.
Take care, buddy.
See you, Ron.
Yeah.
We had so many more viewers because you joined.
Oh, you're very welcome for that. I brought my whole fan club, all 2 of them.
Yeah.
All 2 of them.
No, but they backported the telemetry into 8 and 7, so they could have almost very well have left 7 alone, seeing as everybody was in love with it, and just been very, very sneaky and did a lot of the telemetry in it the way they're doing it anyway. To track stuff and all that. It would have been maybe a little bit more work, but they wanted to give it a new look too, I think. And it was also to clean up 8 and kind of stay with that same flavor and still give you a combination of a little bit of 7.
I think with 7 is they wanted people who wanted to keep 7 and not upgrade, force them to upgrade.
Right, but my point is they might have been better served just they built the telemetry to backport into it anyway. They might have been better off just doing what they're doing now on 10 and just keep 7's face, if you will, or the appearance of it, and still do everything in the back. But I don't know. Who knows what
But they're never going to do that, as is because Michael said they want everybody off 7 now and onto 10.
It's
right.
It's like well, I'm already using it. Basically, I'll just upgrade. It's kind of the approach.
Yeah, but they also not only want everybody on Windows 10. They're going or headed in a direction where they want everybody on their Windows 10s, which is where you don't have a choice of applications. Where certain applications just won't install. You have to use the App Store. So
Windows 10s is a nightmare from what I'm hearing with some things, unless they're getting better with it. But they said it's awful from what I've been hearing.
Well, I don't think they're actually trying to push S. Mainly because if they were trying to push S, then it would make more sense for the subsystem for Linux to be in S, and it's not. So why would they put effort into helping a Linux company build stuff for their stuff in order to make their developer people stay, which is the reason why they're doing it, and the reason why the Linux people are participating is because it's a way to get them to used to these tools that they might eventually go, oh, well, I might as well just use this entirely since it's faster or whatever. But why would they even go through the effort if their eventual goal is to make that effort irrelevant?
Well, because it's all about pushing it at a point where you're not going to bring the masses over, but each little piece you add the developer stuff in for Linux so that you can get the developers.
But you get developers in there, and then you push S or they can't use it. You piss them off, and then
but you're pushing S not for the developers. You're pushing S for the consumers.
Right, isn't S more tablet based, though, more for the smaller like netbooks and tablet and the touchscreen type thing? Isn't it supposed to be more for
It
the
is, but it's still going to be there. And like I said, that's why, in my opinion, you're going to push S for consumers and you're going to push the regular for developers. And once you have everybody there, then you can slowly just start turning the switches, just like they normally do. And you may end up getting to the point where they may end up taking it out at some point. Once you've got them there and they're using it every day, and people aren't going to just switch overnight. So it's a process that they're doing. It's the game that they play.
Well, the more stuff that they keep doing, I look at it's a benefit for us, for the Linux community, because the more they do like that and the more machines they keep breaking and stuff like that, the more people are going to push over to Linux anyway. So,
well, it's just
I think they're pushing the Creators Edition more. The Creators Edition they're going to push more because that's going to take out many older desktops and laptops because it doesn't support the old CPUs in there. So people are going to have to upgrade, aren't they?
Well, but see, here's the thing. I think they're pushing it all at once because they seriously are going for everybody that they can. They're putting in the Linux subsystem for developers. They're having the S so they can get the consumers. They have the creators edition. So they're trying. It's just one massive big push to get as many people on as possible. And then, like I said, once you're on, then they can pretty much do what they want, and they can start changing the game around. Just like they're doing with the updates. They start out with certain updates, and then they, we'll switch this privacy setting on in this update now. So once you're on, you're on.
I don't know if anyone's tried installing rolling releases for newcomers to Linux, which I have done. And it made me realise that the habits that Windows users have, that they are so used to Windows just updating their systems that they don't update. They're just expected to do it, and then all of a sudden, if you don't update a rolling release after time, it doesn't do the system any good. You pretty much got to reinstall. Has anybody noticed that?
No.
No.
Nope.
I've experienced that firsthand, so I tend to not give rolling releases anymore.
See, the rolling release is basically it's like a twofold thing. It's basically you're getting the latest and greatest, but then there's always a risk of it breaking something. Which is kind of what Windows is doing already too. I mean, they're always doing these updates, changing stuff, and that's how stuff gets broke.
Yeah, but I think the terms are different too. You can have a rolling release, like for example, Solus is a rolling release, but it's not on the bleeding edge rolling release,
right?
Because they do test the kernels out before they put them out. Because actually, we were talking. Our interview today was with Ike, and we were talking to him about the turnover from the kernel, and when the 4.13 kernel is going to release tomorrow, I think. So how long does that take to actually get into Solus? And he explained the turnaround rate for that. So even though Solus is considered a rolling release, it's not bleeding edge rolling release. Like today the kernel comes out and tomorrow you got the kernel. So it depends on the term, I guess.
Right.
And also the problem I had with Solus is yes, I installed the 4.12 kernel from their repos. I think it was like kernel current or something. But then every time I rebooted, it went back to 4.19, and it wasn't until I edited the CLR manager to have a 5-second delay that it actually came up with a grub-like menu, and I could pick 412. But I could find no way to make 412 permanent. Every time it boots, I have to pick the 412 kernel. So sometimes the rolling releases don't make it easy for the average user to get the latest and greatest stuff. Now, it's probably just a simple tweak in the CLR manager and make it always use that version. But if I've taken the time to update it in the software manager, it should then become the default. But it doesn't.
Well, it sounds more like a bug than having the wrong feature. I mean, it sounds more like a bug that the intended intention there would probably be to, just like you said, you install the kernel, it boots off of it. So I don't know. I'd have to talk to Ike about that. What do you think, Michael? Shouldn't the kernel? Shouldn't you boot into the newest kernel that you installed?
I'm pretty sure mine did.
Couldn't you think about the fact that the rolling release introduced that bug?
Well, that's why I said. But it sounds to me like a bug rather than the normal action that should.
I think Solus is a rolling release, but having a testing branch is a common thing for rolling releases. I don't think that they meant to do that. I think it's definitely a bug. You need to, if you care enough to submit a bug report, it would be a really good idea for them to see it. I don't think that it's probably not happening to everyone. I think Colin said it didn't happen to him. So I don't think it's a common thing.
No, it didn't happen to mine, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you would, you might not notice it. If it's doing it in the back end and you haven't checked to see what the kernel is, you might not have seen it. So, Zeb, is it doing in the back end and you only notice it because you look for it?
Yeah, I specifically heard, I saw a Patreon notation that they were bringing out the 412 kernel, so I physically went and looked for it. And as I say, I chose it in the software center.
Okay.
And then when I rebooted, I was still on 4.9.
Well, that might be because it wasn't ready for an upgrade or something. I'm not sure because
I'm on the stable release as well. I don't use the testing branch because I don't know enough about debugging stuff.
I mean in the sense like it's in the system, but it's not ready to roll out to everyone yet. So maybe they were just waiting to do that, and you kind of like jumped that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's why would it be in the software center anyway. Maybe they just messed up and put it in there and didn't mean to. I don't know because it's supposed to be in the repo. Is everything in the repo automatically in the software center? That could be an issue that they're dealing with.
Yeah, because
short-term fix.
Yeah, well, because there's last week I was having the issue with the system tray icons in Budgie in Solus where they weren't appearing, and actually Chuck from one of the YouTubers that actually is usually on the Friday Night Chat, he had emailed me and gave me a few suggestions on how to fix it, but nothing fixed it. So I talked to Ike about it, and here I'm talking to him and I'm telling him the problem, and he said to me, "Well, did you install Mate?" And I said, "Yeah," because I installed Mate alongside of Budgie, and I guess a package that is in the Mate desktop package that you download, I think it's Application Indicator, gets installed, and then when you boot into Budgie, it kind of messes Budgie up. So I said to him, well, if he says, just uninstall it and reboot. Well, I said to him, if I do that, am I going to mess Mate up? And he said, no. He says, it's a package that's left over that we probably should have removed already. So don't worry about it messing anything up. So it's probably, it may be even like that, where it's just a package that has not been removed.
I don't know about that.
Customizer is a good one for.
So what?
So the solution was I did. Go ahead, Colin.
Yeah, but Grub Customizer doesn't work on UEFI. That's the other issue I've got with Solus. Solus is the only one out there at the moment, apart from PC Linux OS, that does not play nicely with other OSs. Yeah, my Grub at the moment is being run by Manjaro because again they do something different so that other OSs don't pick up their kernel. It's not written in the right way in Grub. So you use Grub and it finds Solus when it's doing its OS prober, but then doesn't appear in the Grub menu. Yeah. So and there's something to do with Solus that they've, I don't know, and I can't just install Grub 2 and update Grub 2 because there's too many error messages. And when I tried to bring up the issue with Ike, he just said, well, you're a UEFI system. What are you using Grub for? And I was like, well, I don't understand where you're going from technically because Peppermint is a UEFI system, but I still use Grub to boot into it. So the only way I can get into Solus now is by using my F8 key and picking a list of UEFI type OSs. So I can pick any OS that I've installed via UEFI. So why doesn't it play nicely with Grub? So Grub Customizer won't help me because Solus doesn't use Grub.
No, they use Goofy.
That's my answer exactly. Everyone went, oops.
Yep. Wow.
So unless you're really, really technical, I can't get to the bottom of it. And every time I ask it on the forums, Ike gets the ump and says, but it's not Grub. Stop trying to use it. And I was like, well, what should I use?
Right.
So, yeah, for the average user, it can be very confusing sometimes. Rant over.
So basically, you're getting told what not to do, but they're not telling you what to do.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or I don't have enough technical know-how because they're talking geek to understand what they're talking about.
Right.
UEFI is always a bit of a pain anyway, to me. UEFI
works perfectly here. I've used it ever since Peppermint introduced it in September 2015. I think it's fantastic because if ever Grub does muck up, I can go F8 and get back to the OS I wanted anyway.
UEFI is actually really good. It's a more efficient system firmware than BIOS was. But overall, it's a better thing. Like there are some negatives to it, but like secure boot is awful because there's nothing secure about it, and
it just stops other people using it unless they've got a license. Yeah,
that is one advantage of having an older motherboard that doesn't have secure boot on it. Just saying.
Yeah,
but it's also a slower boot. Like, but if you have a SSD, like who cares, right? But like, if you have a hard drive, then you're going to have an issue where a UEFI would be faster with a hard drive. But I mean, if you don't have an SSD and you can afford to, you get an SSD like right now, like that's 10 times faster. Where you don't have to do anything except just install the system. But as far as like, the lack of documentation and the response to community stuff is I don't think the community is hostile. I don't think the Linux community itself is hostile. I think certain sections are absolutely hostile, and other sections are kind of like misunderstood in the sense of like people who aren't like, they're not technical, but they don't know how to express what they're going to say to someone who is technical, but they don't inform the person who's technical that you're not. So like they haven't, if you like, I'm a beginner, I've only been using Linux for a little while or whatever, then if someone says that to me, I my opinion is like, oh, I'm not going to say all these acronyms and stuff or these initialisms and whatever. I'm just going to, explain it to how I think that they're brand new, then they would expect to be explained to. So if people aren't informing the other person how they're just talking how they normally would with any any person they would in an IRC channel. So like that's kind of a good thing and a negative thing. And in the sense of Ike, I think that's how he approached it. He didn't know your level, and he assumed incorrectly what the level might be, or he just didn't think about it. And I think that's more likely, is that he didn't think about it, because a lot of people like there's certain things where you've been doing this for so long, you don't remember exactly where the level starts. Where you're a sysadmin, you don't remember like that line of where it becomes, sysadmin stuff, developer stuff, and then user stuff, or beginner user stuff, or intermediate user stuff. Like you can make an estimate of what you think it might be, but you really don't have that. Like you've already surpassed, and trying to go back and like think about what level is good, you might not get it right. Like you can easily tell the difference in the extremes of like, this is incredibly technical, this is very simple, basic wiki page. Like, I mean like a basic wiki page, not like a Arch wiki, but like a single page wiki that explains in like step by step. Like that's easy to know. But in the middle, like when someone comes to me and starts talking to me about like, my grub's not loading correctly, or I kind of assume a level of experience. And maybe that's a bad thing that I would assume of that, but I don't know. Maybe he did, and then maybe that's why.
I think it's a bad thing for this reason, because even you may not be a new user in Linux, but you still might not be an expert in that area. So, for example, I've been using Linux for years, but I am not a UEFI bootloader grub expert. And I know very little about that area. So I may talk to you and you may think, well, I've run Linux for years and years and years, but I still have not much of a clue on any of that, because I've been on my system for a while. It's an older motherboard, so it's not, it's not old, but it's not brand new. So it doesn't have secure boot. So I know nothing about secure boot. I know nothing about any of that stuff. So it's wrong in that sense to assume one's technical level, because even if you've been I've been around computers for a long time, but I still don't know everything in every area.
So, and also on a forum, the point of the forum is it's then there for a tutorial for another user coming along. So I see so many questions asked about grub on the Solus forums, and there's never really been a proper answer, because you're right, the assumption is you've got a certain level of knowledge. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking Ike, because Ike was the very first developer who I ever spoke to on IRC back when he was with Debian, and producing his, I think it was called Solus back then, but the Debian version. So I've got a lot of respect for Ike, and it was working well, but I just get frustrated when they won't go down to grassroots level, or they'll explain something and they'll miss out 3 steps because they think you know what those 3 steps are.
Yeah,
that's right.
But there's also a thing. Okay, as a developer and project manager and community leader and all these other hats I wear, I kind of have a weird perspective of like every side. Talking to people who are above my level, talking to people who I need to explain stuff, but I'm assuming things, like all this kind of stuff. But there's also a negative when you're in that position. So let's say, for example, someone comes to me and asks me a question that seems technical, but they might not really fully understand the question or fully grasp the level of the question, maybe. And if I assume they don't, I get yelled at if they do.
Right. Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm trying to be in the sense of assuming that you know. It could be that they're trying to not like set up a weird battle with someone who might be offended that they didn't assume that they did. So I'll ask. I even had times where, as the Intergos like community leader guy, I've had people who come into the Arch or the Intergos IRC. I was trying to say IRC when I said Arch. So, by the way, when they come into the IRC for Intergos, they'll ask a question that seems weird to me because they'll say something that starts technical and ends very beginner, and it's confusing to me. So I just have to ask them how long they've been using Linux, and it's I've asked that question 100 times now, and typically it's not very long. So it makes sense that they would say the beginner thing, but the times where it's like 60% of the time they haven't been using it very long, and then I try to convince them to consider something else. But ones who do use it or who have been using it for a few months or a few years or something, and they've been using Ubuntu or something or whatever, and then they come into Intergos and they ask a question and I ask that question, they get mad at me for asking that question, ignoring the fact that I have to ask that question on many occasions. It's not just them. It's not just their question that I'm doing that to.
Yeah,
it's
you
if
have
you
to
have
know the level at which you can pitch the answer.
Exactly. If you set up a flag, if you set up a thing where it throws a flag up to me that you might not be aware of what you're asking in full, I want to like gauge where you are aware, because I don't want to spend an hour explaining something you already know. So when I set up this structure of asking these questions, I get yelled at, and all of a sudden I'm hostile because they're yelling at me, right? So there's situations where the developer or the person who's doing support is going to lose either way, so they just assume that you're aware so that they don't get yelled at. But at the same time, it makes them seem like they don't care that you might be a beginner, even though they're just trying to like appease a situation they don't know if it exists or not. Like, it's a really weird thing to try to balance. I don't know.
Sometimes the people asking the questions are their own worst enemy too, because they leave their questions a bit open. They don't give enough information, right? And I actually on one occasion, one guy said he had a boot problem. He installed another system. He had a problem and it wasn't showing up. So I said to him, try the OS prober and update grub, and he had a go at me. Well, that's the first thing that you would think of that he needs to do. And I politely told him, I don't know you, you don't know me, right? So don't assume that you didn't ask the question properly, you didn't give me enough information that what his level was. Sometimes I just don't understand where people are coming from. And this guy sounded like, in the end, knew more about Linux than what he was alluding to.
Mm-hmm. That happens all the time. I've had a time where someone asked me a question to solve their problem, and the question was, what's wrong with my distro? What?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to answer that? I even said, I responded with, that is such little information. There is nothing anyone could ever answer with. So please elaborate on what your question is.
But that's true.
What's wrong with your distro? The user behind the keyboard.
Yeah, could be.
That's true of any computer issue, whether you're Windows. It doesn't matter what platform you're using, because I just had some dear friends of ours have a laptop issue, and she had a virus on it a couple years ago now, and I fixed it once for her. Well, then the wireless dropped out on it for what she thought was no reason. But she had tried doing something with it. I mean, God love him for trying. Had her son come over, he tried messing with it. Had her daughter-in-law come over, tried messing with it. And I said, the easiest thing you could do, or the best thing you could do, is just call me, because then it's easier for me to try to figure out what might be wrong before too many hands have been into it. And then I have to try to backtrack and figure out what everybody did. And then you have to, at that point, usually prod information out of them. And ironically, what it was there was a command, which YouTube is your friend, I went on there and looked it up because it had me a little dumbfounded. And actually, all it was an exe file that had to be turned on in the registry. And the only thing I could figure is when Windows did an update, it shut it off. I think it was a Toshiba laptop. So it shut something because that I had heard rumors of something like that happening. So that's what kind of triggered in my mind to go check for that. And that's exactly what it was. It was just an exe file that was turned off. And once I turned that on in the registry, boom, it was fine. It's been working ever since.
Yeah, but I think it's got to be incredibly frustrating to be in, say, Ike's place as the lead developer for an operating system. Not only do you have the work and the pressure of the actual operating system itself, but you have so many questions, so many places. Everywhere you go, everywhere you are, there are nonstop questions about everything. I don't know if I could handle that. As far as I don't know if I could have the patience to handle the nonstop questions. And like you said, you never know which way you're going to go. You never know if that person is going to be hostile or not. You never know what answer you're going to give. It's going to, whether you give a right or wrong answer, you're going to be wrong either way. I don't know if I would be okay with all that all the time. So.
Well, and that's true because if he's getting berated with stuff, of course, the person asking on the other end doesn't know that he's getting probably 10,000 other people asking, and they're the most important too. So that's where perception comes in. That could be wrong, of course, not really thinking of the bigger picture, because most people, they just look at something, hey, I just want it to work. Why isn't this working? They don't realize what goes into it or how involved. And you've said that yourself, though, Mike. Like you said, I'm still consider myself a fair novice with this, even though I've been on Linux for quite a number of years. But the last couple of years getting into it. But some of the stuff you talk about, yeah, it goes right over my head too. But the thing that it does for me is it makes me want to learn more. So then and then now the more you talk, the more I'm starting to understand because I am learning. And that's the problem is most people, most end users, they just want to put something in and have it work. And that's the biggest rap that I hear about any Linux. It doesn't matter if it's Ubuntu or whatever, is they say, yeah, but it breaks all the time. I said, well, Windows breaks too. It's whatever you're most comfortable with, what you start out with. It's being familiar and knowing how to take care of it and fix it. But the reality is, in many ways, Linux, I think, is easier to fix than Windows. Pardon me?
It's basically it breaks all the time. Yeah, so does yours. You just deal with it. And we deal with it. So
how much do you live with? Right. That's what it comes down to, what they live with. But they say honestly, this has been more stable for me than Windows ever was. You're not going to get a blue screen of death on this.
I don't think
you got to really screw it up.
I think they blame the hardware. When it comes to Windows, they blame the hardware, not Windows. But when it comes to Linux, they blame Linux.
Yes, right? Exactly.
Yep.
They never. I've actually talked to some Windows users who were like adamant about Windows being great. And I said, I asked them, like, what happens when your graphics card doesn't work? And they're like, well, it's because NVIDIA's fault. It's like, that's weird.
Usually a driver.
It's not about Windows. It's Linux. It's NVIDIA's fault. And they're like, yeah. Has he ever tried Linux? It's like, yeah, it's terrible because the graphics cards breaks. What? I've actually had a conversation where someone said that within 5 minutes of each other, and I had to like stare at him for about like a minute before he goes, "Oh, that's weird."
Yeah.
But
by the way, Zeb, I did upgrade my NVIDIA driver too after that last time we talked about it.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
there's
but, it is that can happen with any platform or whatever. But the thing is what I've noticed with Linux is I can put Linux in a machine. 9 times out of 10, I'm using Linux to fix a Windows machine. Believe it or not, I'm going in there because if like the wireless, what I did is I brought it on my whole little pack of distros, and I plugged one in and I booted up, and I thought if the wireless doesn't work on here, then I know it's something on the machine, and that's exactly what happened, and that's what made me dig deeper. So and that's the thing that people don't realize. 9 times that you can go right out of the box with most, not all, most distros, and they're going to work right out of the box. You're going to get your wireless going. You're not going to have to go searching for 12,000 drivers. Now, 10 years ago, yeah, that's different. Where like my Toshiba laptop that's here that my wife uses now. I remember rebooting that. It took me forever to search all the drivers out for it because I didn't have the other disk that had them loaded. Well, nowadays they don't even give you that stuff anymore. You got to download it anyway. So it took hours.
Well, I'm part of the Solus Google Plus group, and So I'd like to sort of give back a little bit. I just, when you're part of that group, any feeds that come up, you get people asking some simple questions or they've got a problem. So I try to help people as much as I can. I just, any one person you can help, I believe you've done you've helped towards a community to me. So
yeah,
I find that quite good.
I agree with that completely.
Yeah.
Helping one person is enough. If you enjoy like helping people and providing information,
yeah,
doing it once is like, it gets you hooked.
I've got a question for you. Here's something over my head that might be interesting conversation. I can't go into a lot of detail, but I had a lady bring a laptop to me, and she had one other computer that was having issues about a year ago. She had talked to me at some flea market I happened to run into her at. And she brought this laptop to me, and apparently what had happened, she had worked for a company. She worked from home. It's a big company that she sells advertising space. It's a database for manufacturing, stuff like that. Well, she had a supervisor that she had detected or believed was stealing leads from her, and other people thought the same thing. Long and short of it is he was hacking. He's been hacking into her system. So I said, well, the reality of it is if he's into your router at home, if he's into any of your network connections, if you're using the same software to do your work, no matter what I put on here, and I did put Linux on there for her. I put Linux Mate, excuse me, because I thought it'd be easy for her to use. It was the most like what she had on there, and she loved it. But the minute she booted up, he was in it again. He actually literally in her Windows machine trashed it. Now he didn't trash this, but he's in there. She could see him and everything he's doing. She tries to go into to change stuff on her router. He's got her completely locked out. And I mean, to me, there's some really hanky stuff going on. And I even told her to talk to the FBI on it. But the reality of it is it's interesting, and it makes me wonder. This guy's got to be really upper level abilities to be able to do what he's doing to her.
Does he know her?
Well, he's her supervisor, so yeah, he's got all her information and everything else.
So he has physical access to the router and stuff.
Well, when she had to log in, they both had to log into this cloud-based program that they use to work out of. Now, she has since, from my understanding, she's since quit, but he's still able to do this to her. I told her, maybe try buying a new router, and they've tried, even her internet company tried changing the IP, but that didn't work. I said, maybe if you get your own private router and you can go in there and set it up before you get online. But if you're into anything that was into before, he's going to have it. So I don't know. I'm actually dumbfounded.
So basically what's happening is the connection between when they both connected to that cloud system seems like it could download something to her computer, and also could theoretically download something to her firmware of her router. So it could be that she has the router itself is infected. And because of that, if you have access to the router, you can do whatever you want. Like you can watch all of traffic. Now,
which could affect her phone too, is that right? Because he's even left her out of her phone.
Wi-Fi on her router? Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, she was in a parking lot, I guess, going to a store when a few days after this happened, after I put Linux on it, and somehow he actually locked out her phone too.
There, in a situation where you can, it depends on the level of the infection and what she does with it. So let's say, for example, she had at one point that router attacked, and because she had Windows at the time, he was able to get into the Windows machine and then just destroy it and set up a rootkit. When you get a rootkit in Windows, you are screwed. You get a rootkit in Linux, you're probably screwed, but you might be able to do something. With Windows, you are absolutely screwed.
Well, let me correct myself on one other thing too, which might throw a monkey wrench to what you're saying, because when she first booted up that computer for the first time, she was at her girlfriend's house, completely different router, and he was able to get into it like that from there too. So I still think it's got to be the connection that she was logging into at the time of whatever.
I'm saying if it was a different router, the router might not be affected. It might not be the thing, but her connecting to it means that her computer was infected, and her computer being infected means that she might have put something on her phone when she can, like, if she connects her phone with a USB, he might have been able to use the rootkit to put something on the phone. Once the phone has got a virus, every time if she connects that phone to her new Linux setup, he could put stuff onto the Linux thing, because that device is already infected. And it basically, if you plug in a USB drive to any machine that has an auto loading feature to install malware, it doesn't matter what distro it is or what operating system it is, it can be infected because it has physical access at that point.
Right.
So
if he's been that devious, surely he can also then have something backed up from that phone to the cloud. She goes out and buys a new phone, restores her backup, boom, he's back on again.
If she restores a backup, yeah. If she basically what she has to do is, one, absolutely call the cops. This is incredibly illegal. But what she could do is, if she has a new phone, she could also flash that phone, set it back to stock, and just flash it completely.
They've tried that, and somewhere along the line it hasn't worked.
There's a difference between a software reset and a hardware reset. So it depends on how they did it. Like if she hard resets, then that's kind of insane that it could still be infected.
Yeah, but it also sounds like he has access to her accounts as well.
Yeah, if
you're logged in or if she's logged in, he's going to have that information.
Yeah. So if she has,
the local authorities said there was no physical stealing of money or that kind. Well, I said, hey, if he's taking your leads, he's stealing your money, but they're not helping her. So that's when I suggested going to the feds, and they did tell her fill out a report or whatever. And so it's just, I don't know if, again, I just thought this would be an interesting conversation, because it's just, I would like to, help her whatever I can, with limits, of course. But the thing is I feel for her, because she's scared to death, and it's just, it's got to be pretty scary that you can't turn on a computer or turn on your phone, that somebody's not accessing it,
The only true way she's ever going to get it is get a new phone, get a new computer, get a new router, and don't do any backups. Before she gets rid of the phone, physically write down on a piece of paper all of her contact details, so she can then put them back on the phone. That's complete overkill, but that's the only way I think she's going to get rid of him.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of suggesting to her too. And I told her, I said, before you turn on or go online again, I said, make sure you get the router for starters in your house, because I said that to me was, if you're using the internet company's equipment, I said, by you changing and getting something that's a more secure, more updated router and starting out from scratch with that. But at the time, I didn't know about her phone. I found out about her phone after the fact, that he was getting into her phone too. Well, and I told her the same thing. I said, don't be pulling anything down, because if you gave him all your information as an employee, he's going to have it too. And because she said her iTunes account, she's locked out of it and everything. So,
what about
apparently you can get a new ID with that. Pardon me?
Can you try Tails? Try install Tails? Will that help or not really?
Tails is
I don't know that at this point. I don't think that would work.
Tails is not for that anyway. It's not even meant to be installed.
Right.
Oh, is it not? Oh, okay.
And it'd be slow as heck for her too, and
yeah. Well, Tails is a RAM based thing, so unless she has a slow computer, it'd be fine. But
that's a newer one. It's a newer one, but it's a cheap one.
Okay. Then
it was like a $300 laptop or $250 laptop is all it is.
The issue is multifaceted, it seems, and if that's the case, unfortunately, it sounds like a clean slate is the only guarantee. But there are things that you could do that might not guarantee it, but it might, like just by replacing the operating system is one. If it's not on her firmware, which it might be now, I don't know. You can still flash the firmware on the router anyway. You just set it, just refresh it, whatever built-in, whatever the router comes with. It probably has like a USB plug-in, and you can just put in the codes into it. Do that. Hard reset your phone. If any of these particular examples are not fully done, he's got an avenue to attack regardless. So if you have to do all of them before even connected to the internet. So, and Toss said
he even locked her out. He even locked her out as far as he added a user account in her Linux and then locked her out of doing things on there too. So, and I sent her a disk for it, so if she had to refresh it, but I still would like to, you know, see her do exactly what you're talking about. I mentioned her about changing some hardware stuff, but
yeah, it sounds like she is gonna have to replace a lot of stuff, and it depends on like how deep it goes.
Yeah,
it sounds like it goes pretty deep, and
yeah, it's the scariest thing I've heard of. I'll tell you that right now. He sounds like a black hat, hacker is what he sounds like.
Oh, he's definitely a black hat. He probably is not a hacker. He's probably a script kiddie. But those can do a ton of damage now, thanks to stuff like, Kali and all the other penetration testing distros. Not saying Kali is a bad thing. It's just it makes it easier for people who don't know any idea what they're doing to be able to cause havoc. But it sounds like she needs to do all these things and maybe have someone else do everything. Like bring all of her potentially infected things to someone, maybe for you if you want to do it, I don't know, and have him and do all of the flashing, like the router, the phone, the computer, any other phone that she has connected. Maybe her friend's phone that connected to it or something like.
Yeah. Well, the only word I have is I don't want my internet affected here either. But I told her, I said, some of this is starting.
My point is that you don't put it on the internet. You don't put her stuff on. The
No,
internet.
I know that.
I'm saying you take everything and don't connect to the internet. Just get USB drives and stuff, and then flash it all. Then take it back to her, test it to see, so you don't affect your stuff. I mean, you might mess up a flash drive or two, depending on.
Right.
But other than that, like that's what I would do. And the phone you could hardware reset without having to put anything on anything. So I would flash everything, then go back to her connection and then test it and see what happens there.
And
when I put the OS on, I did go online to do the updates because I figured at that point it was a clean slate, and I basically ran a cleaning. I actually ran a cleaning program on there. I ran Kill Disk on there, which I have a professional version of it. Before I did that, and then I did her install. So I wasn't as nervous about getting online then. But once she got online, I said, once you go online, if you open any doors for him, he can be right back in, even with this. And that's exactly what happened. So
I would also do what Zeb had said about getting her contacts information, and don't do the backup of anything that's already there. And even, like I said, it sounds like he's got access to accounts, and he might have access to like her Gmail account or whatever account she has. So it's almost like she would have to create new ones and not even log into them.
Will, with Google, this is a tip that usually will be useful. I can't guarantee it because whatever. But if you have a free account with Google, and you call the Google Apps for Business, and you tell them that your account, even though free, has a potential to be a vector for a hacker, because you have this situation, they may give you support anyway, and they may just lock it out, reset everything, and then give you the access back. So it depends on how well she convinces them or whatever, but they don't want someone who has potential to use their services to hack you. So if you have especially if she has the FBI report and stuff and shows that she's going, she's serious about it and she's not just trying to steal someone's account.
Right.
They might listen more carefully. Like that, if you don't have Google Apps for Business, their customer service usually doesn't care. But in situations like this, they have a higher potential to care.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm just blown away with the level of this and the fact that she hasn't gotten any help from the local authorities. It's like if they don't see the accident happen, they can't do anything for you.
Yeah, that's the most disturbing thing, that somebody is this clever and this deep into her life, and yet they're not going to do any forensic digging to find out what he's using.
She's actually mentioned she thought they were physically following her too, Zeb. I mean, it's where she's seen people. It's just, I don't think she's just paranoid, because some of the stuff she described and what I saw on the system when I first, it's not a good thing. And it's again, it was like I told her, I said I think it was getting a little over my pay grade, but I think common sense was like you said with the hardware. But she was talking about, okay, she could go to the local cellular store and get a different phone. But again, like you said, if she's doing a backup, because they said, oh, they can go in and change my password for me, and then I can download everything. But if it's still up there in a backup, if there's something planted in a backup up there, yeah, she could still pull it back down, even a new reset on that.
Yeah, she'd have to manually back up everything in the sense.
Well, she could print, and I don't know how many contacts she'd have, but I know even on Google or whatever, you could still print it out in paper form and then just get rid of it, and then you'd have to manually put them in
photos and videos and things that she wants to keep. I don't know. He might be smart enough to inject code inside of the bits. It is possible to obfuscate something inside of a JPEG if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I don't know how far it goes.
That's tough, man. You don't have enough info to say how far it goes.
Yeah. I mean, I'd have.
Well, that's why what you're saying too is the way I felt with a clean slate, but I didn't know how far or what level. Like I said, the first thing I thought was the router, and you think about changing the phone. But again, I would have never really thought that hard about implanting stuff in her, her backups. But that would make sense too.
It's possible that she could.
Well, what about the firmware on the computer? Can you reset that or anything on the laptop? Is that possible? Or
yes and no. Depends on how deep the firmware is affected. It is very unlikely if you didn't have physical access to infect firmware of a computer.
You flash
is it? Right. So you're saying it's probably not the computer; it's more than likely the phone. Yeah.
No, I'm saying the computer it's not the firmware of the computer; it's something else.
I think it's when she goes online. He's got something, because what I did to that operating system when I put it on there and everything. There's no rhyme or reason how he should have gotten into that fast, other than when she signed into whatever she signed in, opened the door to the new computer.
She could also have incredibly awful passwords that she uses everywhere.
Well, I asked her about that too. I didn't ask her what all of them were, but she did give me one of them, and it seemed.
If she knows what the password is, it's an awful password.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's not exactly true.
Yes, it is, because you cannot remember. That means if you can say, "Here's my password," I know it. That means you have maybe 5, and that you use those in a ridiculous amount of places. One of those gets infected. Everything that has that password is infected. So don't do that. So you have you have a different password for every account, even if it's on the same website. Everything different. So the fact that she knew what it was means she has bad passwords. Even if it's some, ridiculous arbitrary thing that it's a word that she changes the letters to be symbols or something. Terrible password. It's automatically bad. And unless you have some kind of cognitive system you've built where you mind map things that you can put a password on a couch in your brain or something. There are techniques to do that, but I doubt anyone would go through that effort because it'd be easier just to get a password manager.
So PA55W0RD is not a good password.
No.
So Monkey One's not a good password.
Well,
Monkey One's not a good password.
Correct horse battery staple. That's XKCD joke.
All right, so we're getting to the latest hour here.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to derail it, but I thought it would be some interesting conversation, and also maybe something to give her some help. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you didn't derail anything, dude. That's what we're here is to talk about stuff. So, yeah, it was an awesome, good topic. So everybody gets a last word. So, who's got what?
I got nothing after that.
Oh my! What the? All right, so you just forfeited your last word. Zeb, what do you got? Anything?
No, bye.
Colin?
No, I don't know last words, really.
Michael?
I have multiple words, as always.
Oh my gosh.
First, check out the new Falcon from KDE, which is, Cupzilla changed their name to Falcon. You can actually use it as a snap now.
Is it Falcon or Falcon?
It's Falcon. I don't know, but it's
Spelled with a K.
I hope it's Falcon, otherwise it's just ridiculous. ridiculous.
What is it? Scones or scones? Yeah.
Because all they did was change the C to a K, and it should be Falcon.
Sure,
It should be.
It's Falcone. Thank you.
Yeah.
In most cases, I think it's ridiculous. And this one is just change one letter. So come on. Anyway, Falcon is a snap. You can use it in Solus if you want. And,
Nice.
So I think the snap came out like yesterday, maybe today. I don't know. It's really cool that you can do that now. Super quick updates. And also tuxdigital.com.
Yeah.
There you go.
When's your next video?
Is it tomorrow during a live stream?
Actually, it's Sunday. So 2 days
cool.
away.
Sorry,
Just
today
to
is.
elaborate on that, actually. Last word.
Zeb's
I will
already
take
in
the last
Sunday.
word now.
I have a video that comes out
installed,
on Sunday, and I have a live stream on Sunday too.
Nice.
live stream Sunday. I installed Brave through Snaps on Solus. I haven't tried it yet, but any ideas on Brave? A few people have mentioned it now.
So Brave
This is breaking
weird.
the last word rule. You know that.
Well, he used his
Sorry.
last words to ask a question.
Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah.
So Surge, it's 1 p.m. Eastern. So the issue with Brave is that it has a really good idea and also really weird, sketchy approach. So, for example, okay, Brave is cool. It's based on Chromium, which is not cool. It's founded by one of the founders of Mozilla, which is cool. It's got ad removal automatically, which is cool. It's not technically ad removal, actually. It's ad replacing, which is not cool. The ad replacing is giving money to Brave, not the people on the website that the ads were there in the first place for.
Well, I thought it was a split, wasn't it?
Well, that
it's a split
they have a
between
program.
them going to Brave and
they have
the
a
ad
program
developers.
where they do offer the money back to them. But do you have to sign up for it? Like, how do you know that they're taking the ads off, that people are using their browser? I don't know. I have ads that on some websites that are like Google based that I have no idea that they're taking it off. Like, how do you find that out? It's a really weird approach. It's like, it's a program that has a cool idea, but then makes it all muddy, and then who knows? I don't know. I think it's.
I'll try Falcon.
It's got potential, and I think it's really cool that it's a snap. Chromium's also a snap, so that's cool. I think the Vivaldi's working on a snap too, but it's not out yet. But anyway, so check out Falcon for sure as a snap, because it's basically Godzilla still. It's pretty much like nothing's changed really that from the change over. But Godzilla didn't have a snap previously.
So if you're not running KDE Neon, you have to install the KDE Framework snap first. Apparently,
that's a good thing though.
Okay, well, I'm just throwing it out there because you can't just do the, install snap.
So here's the idea. Everybody who hates snaps hates it because the lack of dependencies. The fact that the snap is like people are like, oh, you download this one thing and it's huge. You download the other thing that's also huge, and you just take up all this space. But if you do what KDE did, they create a framework snap. Everything that sits on that frame is using the same framework snap. So every time it sits on it, that's big, but this is tiny, and this is tiny, and this is tiny, so it doesn't really matter. It's the same as you get a deb that has a big set of libraries and dependencies, but then itself is only like a little bit. It's basically the same thing. And it's also the same concept that was a similar concept that Flatpaks use, which is the runtime structure, except for Flatpak does it in a much different way, which I don't think is better. Anyway, last words.
Well, I wasn't saying it was a bad thing. I was just letting people know that you have to install KDE Framework to install the snap.
Yeah, I mean, it's just people kind of like assume weird stuff. So I'm just like that. This is true. It's also not a good thing. It's okay.
So we're just installing Snap Falcon. Is that right?
It's a snap install. I think it's got like an edge. I think it's got an edge tag.
It's Falcon space dash edge.
Yeah, it's an edge.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's
last words.
TuxDigital.com.
My car's a Falcon with a C.
Hey, my last words are. No, I won't say it.
Oh, my last words are, hey, Rocco, what is the big surprise?
The big surprise. No, well, the big surprise you can't know about. I already told you that we recorded the latest Destination Linux today with Ike that will release on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So that was I think it was an hour and a half interview with him. So that was awesome.
That's cool.
The following week, we have a surprise guest who we interviewed and is going to make an announcement on the show and use Destination Linux as the platform for the announcement. So that is really exciting. So that's something that I can't.
What did they say?
That's not something I can say because this is like I said, it's something pretty big, and I'm surely not going to ruin that. So
it's worth a shot.
I have no way in heck.
Otherwise, we'll be talking with a higher voice next week.
So yeah, so wait for the September 11th. Well, no, you look for Ike's.
Wait for September 11th, really.
The 4th is Ike's, and then September 11th will be a pretty big announcement. So I think you may find it unentertaining, or not entertaining, but I think it's a great announcement. So
I'm always up for news, and it's fantastic. And I think what you should do is release it on the Saturday before. That way, it could be in my show after.
You think?
Not like the day after I put my show out, and then I have to wait another week and go. Rocco,
yes, but this is a coordinated effort between a few people and a few. Yeah, so
you need to coordinate them to help put me in the coordination.
You just need to change the day of your show.
Like, I don't mind not being the people who I don't mind being the podcast that doesn't like give the news. All I'm doing is collecting the news, but I would like to wait a whole week maybe.
So make your episode on Tuesday then, because ours comes out on Monday. You can watch
use
it.
Logic with me, sir. That's just not fair.
And release your episode on Tuesday. That way you'll be the second people that will know this. Right?
Okay. Well, in that case, I'll think about it. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Anyway,
these are pretty long last words.
Yes, they were. All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for stopping by, and we will see you all next Friday night.
Yeah.
Take care.
Have
a great night.
Bye.